Welcome to the next stop on your journey from paycheck to pension. If you're ready to take your finances to the next level, you're in the right place. It's time to take control of your future, starting now, and we're doing it live. Hi, we're the Stidhams, and our goal is to help you get self-directed. It's the tax-free income that will shape your legacy. It's wealth, time, and the freedom you deserve. What you're about to learn will enable you to make confident and strategic moves. It means gaining complete control to invest in what you want when you want. We've helped thousands of people just like you. And if they can do it, you can too. So we hope you're ready, because it's about time that your money started working for you. And we're so excited that you chose us to show you how.
Starting right now. Hey.
Oh, hey.
Nice.
Wait
Hey, Frankie.
Oh my God. Hi, everybody. Get me out of here.
Frankie for the win.
I have no idea how she got on the screen, but hey, everybody.
That was awesome.
Welcome, Frankie, to the stream.
That was awesome.
Yeah, sorry about that, Frankie. Golly. I have no idea how that happened. Okay, so tonight we are going to welcome back everyone. Howdy, by the way. We are going to finish. This is a part 2 to a last stream where we talked about what is MPI, what exactly is it, what is it not. And tonight we're going to dive into some of the more technical aspects of it to explore fees and things that you might find inside of an illustration, as there's been some questions, concerns, and just overall, I think some clarification that was asked for us to go over, right?
Yes. And, you know, I don't even think I got halfway through last time before we kind of just jumped into the question. So I am going to try to run through this thing pretty quick. But the bottom line is what I wanted to do was just kind of restate what is MPI. And also kind of talk through some of the questions that I've consistently got, not just, during our lives, but just in general, some of the consistent questions that I've gotten. And I answer them the same every time. So I want to kind of walk through an example as to maybe a better way or visual to kind of go along with some of those answers that I traditionally provide. For instance, what happens during a down market? It's a pretty simple standard answer that I always give. I use my hands to do it though, but I just kind of wanted to walk through a visual to kind of highlight that. I also it's really weird to me. Like, I get it. There's people who don't like life insurance. There's people who don't believe life insurance can be designed to provide retirement income. Like, I get that. That's fine. The part that I don't understand is when other life insurance people look at this and go, there's no way you can do this. Like, there's no strategy that I'm going to walk you through today that is new. There's nothing that I'm going to share with you that isn't found in all cash value life insurance products. Now, whether or not the life insurance company you're with allows you to be able to do some of the things I'm going to share with you, okay, you can debate that. But the fact that I'm using the same information that everyone uses, and there's still even just traditional life insurance people who don't agree with it, is just weird to me. So I'm going to cover some of that.
Yeah, I think that it's very telling when you think of when a strategy hits the market, right? When a strategy is first being explored versus when it takes off and when it's starting to hit the masses. Right. Imagine the amount of people who missed out on the opportunity to, even back from starting in the 80s, missed the opportunity to implement an infinite banking policy, right? And how many people are just today in 2023 even learning about these strategies? Even if you've learned about it before, how many people were in the position to be able to leverage this type of strategy? Imagine having access to this information before. The problem is those who came before and before the internet, because something could just be thrown on TikTok and go viral, right? Right. You had to buy a book to be able to access the strategy. And the people who bought the books and read the books, they got to then be the gatekeepers as to whether you were going to even find out about the information that was accessible, whether it was in a book or blog, wherever it was going to be. But they got to be the gatekeepers. If that meant that they kept it for themselves so that they could level up, right? These
Right.
are my secrets. She must be so lucky, or they must be so lucky, or they must be so educated. That's really the core of everything that we talk about, is becoming educated. And so hopefully what you'll be able to do is use discernment now, right?
Discernment.
And learning more about strategies that we teach anyway, strategies that we use. That's the important part, and why we find so much value inside of these strategies. It's the information inside of them. It's how you can use them, and it's not just some summarized version of what they are. It's really understanding their characters, their
Right.
characteristics. Yeah. So let's jump into that. Are you ready, or is there anything else you want to say?
Let's do it.
Oh, I do want to say something.
Then it's not
Um, I have two announcements to make. One, Frankie is awesome. Yeah, I said I was going to say it, and it was because of you. And
muffled.
yeah, I'm muffled again.
Uh-huh.
Oh, this must be this platform then, because I don't think it could be this microphone. It's my tried and true. Am I so muffled?
Get closer.
Is that better? Okay, I don't know what to do here. Okay, can you make the announcement? The announcement is some people did not give us their address
Oh yeah, yeah.
on the
So
vote.
okay, so yeah, the announcement, and I'm assuming I'm okay. The announcement, because I didn't know that was going to be the announcement. Now that I know, yeah,
Yeah,
Frankie is awesome. That's number
again.
one, and then the other announcement is Sunday when we ended the show, we came back to give away some boats, and so some of you may have left before you learned that you won, and so if you were on the live Sunday, we will send out the names, 'cause I can't access them now, but we'll send out the names of who won on Sunday. But if you did, don't forget to text us your address and your full name and your handle so that we can send those votes to you. What was it? Four? I think it was four that we ended up giving out, including Frankie. Yep. So four we ended up giving out. So please, when you have time, please throw in or text us. We'll put across the bottom the number to text. Please text us your address, full name, and the handle that you use during the live, so that way we can send you your vote. So
Yep.
let's jump in.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, is that better?
Yes. Good.
Now I can't hear myself. That's weird. Okay. That's okay, as long as you guys can hear me.
Yeah, you're
Um,
good.
if you have questions, we're going to get into it, but I wanted to throw this up first this time, because if you have questions, then you should use this QR code and it'll take you to our, it should pull up a text to us. But this is, if you're not on YouTube, YouTube is the best place, but if you're not on YouTube, then you can text us your questions privately here, and that will come directly to us, and we'll be paying attention to that. So that's just that. You don't have to do the first name and your numbers unless you want your numbers ran, of course. But if you have a question, definitely give us your name so we know who it is. Unless you want to be anonymous, then also say that, because, Donnell, you have the habit of being like, Mike from New Jersey has a question. So if you want yours to be anonymous, let us know. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Just screenshot it, whatever you need to do, and then send us in your questions. Okay, you ready to jump in?
Yeah. Let's do
All
it.
right, let's go.
All right. So these are continuing with the questions from the live, and again, the focus is on what is MPI. And so, real quick, because I covered this at the start last time, MPI is actually really simple. It's a max funded option B IUL. It's a life insurance product that's designed to produce income. It's intentional. Like, the focus is on producing income, which means it's not get rich quick. It's not Bitcoin. You can't, dump some money inside of your premium finance strategy and expect there to be millions of dollars tomorrow. You give the right amount of money, the right amount of time, with the right amount of structure, max funded, option B. This is built inside of an IUL. So MPI is not a life insurance policy. It's a strategy applied to a life insurance policy, and that policy is an IUL. It's not a whole life policy, but it max funded just simply means we're purchasing the least amount of life insurance legally possible. Why do you care? Well, the less life insurance you buy, the less expense to you. The less expense to you, the more of your money is now available to now be put in a position so that it can make more for you, build compound interest. So max funded is designed to benefit you. This is an option B policy. Option B, well, if it's option B, there must be an option A. Option B is just saying, as you continue to contribute into your policy, the death benefit continues to increase based off the amount of cash value that you've accumulated. So your death benefit continues to get larger. And then it's built inside of an IUL. Why? Well, it's built inside of an IUL for one reason, and that's the 0% floor. It's not built inside of a whole life policy, universal life policy. It's built inside of an IUL. And the sole purpose is because that 0% floor is the only guarantee that the life insurance company provides as it relates to an IUL. They don't guarantee how much money you'll make. They don't guarantee anything other than the money you put inside the general fund cannot be lost due to market risk. The money you put inside the general fund cannot be lost due to market risk. So therefore, that 0% floor provides security. And at my age, what I don't have time for is market risk. So when I'm looking for a vehicle that I want to use to be able to start building income, building wealth for me, I want a vehicle that is secure. And that's what makes an IUL important. And then the last piece is leverage. If there's anyone out there that's ever used or invested in real estate or leveraged other people's money to be able to build wealth, then you understand where leverage comes into play. Leverage is very important because what that does is it allows you to use someone else's money to be able to build income for yourself. It's arbitrage, meaning we're going to borrow money at a low interest rate, make a higher interest rate, keep the difference. So who wouldn't want that applied to their 401k? Who wouldn't want that applied to an IRA? Because it's easy money. It's arbitrage. And so max funded option B IUL with leverage is what MPI is. But I wanted to kind of, before I jump into those specific details around I wanted to just highlight this again.
Can we highlight that you keep putting the black slides on the white background? We're just going to highlight that.
I'm highlighting it right now.
Yeah. Noted.
So I just want to make sure that as it relates to what we're talking about, I'm talking about producing compound interest. I'm talking about building wealth. I'm talking about putting yourself in a position so that your money is making its own money. That process is different from what we traditionally know as investment strategies. And the visual of that is here. So the market performance, meaning when you're subject to market performance, what you're subject to is risk. And that risk looks like this. Meaning there's a mathematical equation that basically states how you build wealth inside of an investment account. And it's this plus or minus here is what kind of notes the, I'll call it the impact of the market. Meaning when the market does great, you do great. But when the market does not, you don't. And so your ability to build wealth is solely dependent upon risk. And so if you wanted to build wealth, the way you convert this investment equation to building wealth is you have to eliminate the risk, or at least reduce the risk. So how do you do that? Are there vehicles that will allow you to eliminate risk? So let's talk through it. Wealth is just a simple math equation. Y equals A times 1 plus R to the X. A stands for pay yourself first. Pay yourself first today. Instead of waiting till after you've paid your bills, after you've paid your car off, after the kids have gone through college, pay yourself first, starting today. And it has to be somewhere secure, somewhere where you can eliminate risk or at least reduce the risk. And then you compound your money. You get your money working for you so that your money is making its own money. And then the last piece is exponentially grow it. How many vehicles do you know of? How many vehicles are you aware of that have that exponential growth part, meaning the leverage part, the piece that allows you to be able to use other people's money to grow your own? Your 401k is one of them. The match inside of your 401k is this piece, because you're leveraging Some match, some 5, 10, 15. Some of you may have 100% match in your 401k. You're leveraging someone else's money to help your money grow even faster. Like that's a want for everyone, I would believe. But what I wanted to highlight, though, as it relates to this equation, is of these three buckets: infinite banking using a whole life policy, an IUL, and MPI. How do they match up to this equation? Meaning, does a whole life policy allow you to use all of the variables in this equation? Right? So, infinite banking is using a whole life policy to be able to put yourself in a position so that you can leverage it to go create an arbitrage position and recapture what you were traditionally spending with the bank. Does your whole life policy allow you to pay yourself first? Short answer is yes. Can you do it today? Absolutely. Can you put it somewhere secure? Are whole life policies secure? Absolutely they are. Can you compound your money? You absolutely can. But can you apply leverage to your whole life policy? Is your whole life policy allowed to have leverage with it? Meaning, can you borrow money, whether it's from a bank or from another person, and add that money into your policy to help your whole life policy grow? So you can pay yourself first. You can do it today. You can do it securely. You can compound your money, but can you exponentially grow inside of an IBC policy? The answer is no. How about an IUL? Well, there's many different versions of an IUL. Structure matters. But I'm just talking about the basic IUL that you would get from Transamerica, Mass Mutual, wherever you decide. How does an IUL match up to this list? Can you pay yourself first? Oh, sorry about that. Can you pay yourself first? Of course you can. Do it today, somewhere secure, compound your money, but exponentially grow. Can you use leverage inside of an IUL? You can't. MPI is a strategy applied to an IUL. So can you do all of these things with an MPI policy? And the answer is yes. And that's what makes this different. But I say that all the time, but I've never kind of mathematically represented it. So what I wanted to do is just simply do math real quick. Make this very, very quick. If the goal is to build wealth, and this is the equation that allows you to build wealth, and these are the three vehicles that we're going to measure against each other as it relates to building wealth, is there a way mathematically to show that one may be building wealth easier, better, faster than the other? So I just wanted to highlight a simple mathematical equation, and I'm going to use some for the variables. For the A, let's see, hold on, I'll come here. For the A, let's say it's 5. For the R, let's say it's 3. And exponentially growing, I use the number of 2. So just simply using these numbers, 5, 3, and 2. So in an IBC policy, it's Y equals 5 times 1 plus R, which is 3 to the 2. Simple math. For an IUL, it would equal Y 5 times 1 plus, oh, sorry, I did something wrong here. This 2 is actually 0 as it relates to an IBC policy. And as it relates to an IUL, there's a read. As it relates to an IUL, it's 5 times 1 plus R, which is 3 to the X. But again, you can't have leverage inside of an IUL. So there's no variable there. And then MPI is Y equals 5 times 1 plus 3 to the 2. There's a difference between all three of these equations. And that math works out differently as well. This equals 5 times 4, which is 20. This equals 5 times 4. Oh, keep my colors right. This equals 5 times 4, which is 20. But what does this equal? This equals 5 times 4 squared, which is 5 times 4 times 4, which is 5 times 16, which is 80. Really simple. If you just apply math as it relates to, can your whole life policy do this? Can your IUL do this? Can MPI do this? If you just simply just lay it out on the table as a simple mathematical equation, the goal is to build wealth. If you use the exact same numbers in each vehicle, the exact same numbers, follow the exact same process, one is going to produce more than the other. So if we can just pause with IULs are bad, whole life is great. If we're just talking about building wealth, which one would help you build wealth? If you had a mathematical equation that taught you how to make money, if you had a mathematical equation that allowed you to cover all of these variables, you can actually make more money if you apply it there. So what are some of the other vehicles, I would say, that might fit in the same category? How about real estate? Real estate, you can pay yourself first today. You can securely invest in real estate, compound your money, and you can use someone else's money to be able to grow it. So real estate fits in that. And again, I go back to your traditional retirement planning. The difference between this equation and traditional retirement planning is the risk part. When you introduce risk, this looks different. But the moral of the story is, if we just look at this as a process of making money, a process to build wealth, is the IBC, a whole life policy, an IUL, and MPI, is the means to be able to build wealth different? And the answer is yes. And it's because of leverage. It's leverage is what makes all of this different. A lot of the argument around an IUL and whether or not it's good enough, we can debunk that. But the biggest piece here is the leverage. And one of the arguments is, how do you not become over leveraged? So what I wanted to do was dig into an example. And I kind of started this example a few days ago. So I'm not going to go back through everything that I shared as it relates to this because I covered it on Sunday. But the bottom line is we've got an IUL. We're putting $100,000 lump sum one time into that IUL. And then we're going to apply $10,000 a year, meaning contribute $10,000 a year into that IUL from this point forward. MPI is just an IUL. The foundation of it is just an IUL. But when you start adding the leverage, that's what makes this different. So the first 2 years inside of MPI looks no different than what you're seeing here. Meaning, if you put $100,000 in year one as a lump sum, and you're putting $10,000 in a year and then $10,000 every year after that, how much of this $110,000 is available in cash value? Well, I'm showing $50,000. If there's any of my infinite banking people out there, if you would have put $110,000 into a whole life policy, properly designed, properly structured for infinite banking, how much cash value would you have to start? Most will tell you somewhere between 60 and probably 90%, which means if you put in 110,000, you would have somewhere between, what is that? 65 and maybe $95,000 available to you to go do infinite banking. Whereas inside of MPI, inside of an IUL, the performance is worse. So I would say if you're looking to do infinite banking, if you're looking to leverage 90% of the money that you put in, maybe this isn't for you because this is about the long game. But if you wanted to do infinite banking and you're okay with only having access to less than 50% of your cash value, then you can absolutely leverage it and go do what you want. But the bottom line is that dollar amount, this growth here is about 45% of what it is you've contributed. And in year two, okay, you've put in 120,000. Well, how much cash value do you have in year two inside of an IUL? How about 64? So now we're at least at 50%, a little bit better than 50%. Still not great, but you are at 50%. And then at year three inside of an IUL, we're talking about 79,000. So again, it's continuing to grow up from there. Where did I get these numbers from? Because the argument is, hey, Donnell, you said you were going to show an illustration and map out how money grows inside of MPI. Well, these numbers aren't magic. I didn't make them up. They come straight from an illustration. And I have a copy of it. So,
damn, son, where'd you find this?
So
I haven't got to use any sound effects. You're just talking so fast tonight. Golly. We do have
We'll get
relevant
there. We'll
questions.
get there. But
Okay.
because I couldn't get through this last time, so
All
we will
right.
get there.
All right.
So what I wanted, I'll make it a little bit bigger so it's easy to see. So again, we're putting in. This is a 45-year-old. So 45 to 46 is year one. 45-year-old putting in 110,000 in year one, and then 10,000 every year after that. So after that 20-year period, it'd be about $300,000 have been contributed. So how much of this $110,000 is available at year one to go do velocity banking? Well, if you come over here, what you'll see is 107 of it in accumulation value, meaning 107,000 is working for you. But what's that surrender value? How much cash value do you have? About $50,000. I didn't make this number up. This is straight out of the illustration. And the non-guaranteed rate that we're using is about 6.28%. Does that number look familiar, by the way? But we'll get into that. But the bottom line is the surrender value year one is 50,000. The surrender value year two is 65. So it's 50, 65, 81, 97. You'll notice that if I come back over here,
A few moments later.
50, it's not 65, it's 64, 79, 95. So these numbers are not 100% accurate. And here's why. I did this example about maybe 3 months ago. And as the interest or as the indexing strategy evolves and shifts, the amount of interest used changes, which means as you run illustrations, it updates. This is an old example. So when I did this example, those were the numbers when you ran the illustration. But now they're new. But am I off that much? Year one's 51, 64 versus 65. I think this one was 81, and I think that 95 is right about on. But the bottom line is I'm pulling the cash value right from the illustration. So let's jump into MPI though. So inside of an IUL in year one, you put in 1,000 plus the 10,000 you put in on a monthly basis. You got 50,000 available. Well, if we were to jump into MPI, how does that look different inside of MPI? Well, it really doesn't. We put in the same 110,000 at year one. And of that 110,000, there's a certain portion that you're able to use because there's room in your policy. Notice this line right here. This line is your MEC, meaning you've put in 110,000, you've got 110,000 worth of room inside your policy. Well, this room is open. And so therefore, inside of MPI is just an IUL with leverage. All we're doing is adding leverage to grow your policy faster. So in year one, you put in 110,000. You've got 50,000 from year one available at year two. So you've put in 110,000 at year one. That 50,000 that we have available at year two is what we're now using or leveraging or adding into our policy at year two as brand new principal. So the 50,000 from year one, we're going to add on top of the 10,000 that we've contributed, which means you've put in your traditional 10,000, but you've leveraged, you've borrowed 50,000 from the life insurance company. So that's 60,000 total that you're now adding into your account to help grow it faster. Now, that 50,000 isn't free. We go through this all the time. That 50,000 you're leveraging at 4%. I'm not going to get into that, but my point is we know it's not free. So the 50,000 in year one, you added at year two. Okay, so you take this 60,000 and you're growing it. And then that 64,000 from year two, you're going to add that at year three. So all we're doing is filling up this space with the leverage that we've had. Whereas inside of an IUL, how are you filling up the leverage? How are you filling up this space with an IUL? You're not. You're adding your $10,000 a year. I'm sorry, $10,000 a year. And that is the only contribution going into your IUL. All of this space is available. So all we're doing is filling up this space with leverage that we're receiving from the life insurance company based off our performance of the previous year. So again, $50,000 of cash value is now added as leverage at year two, and we do that from every year going forward. But how much cash value does that create? when we add this additional leverage, how much cash value is now created inside of your MPI policy? Meaning, how much cash value is now created for you to be able to use and go do infinite banking if you wanted to? Well, it's pretty significant.
Gosh, these graphics are hot.
Starting at year 3, and the reason I'm starting at year 3 is because you've heard me say this many, many times. There's not much that happens inside of your policy. You can leverage your cash value in year 1. You can leverage your cash value in year 2. Go do whatever you want. But the ask is that you wait till year 3. Why? Why do we ask that you wait till year 3? It's because at that point, we break even because we've added so much leverage inside of your account that at year 3, you've broken even. So therefore, you have full access, just about, I want to say somewhere around 98%, 98% access to your cash value. You go do whatever you want. So what does that mean? Well, if we look at year 3, how much cash value has been accumulated since we've leveraged this 50,000 at year 2, and we added additional leverage of 64,000 at year 3, our cash values jumped up to 134,000. Again, what was our cash value in our IUL at year 3? The cash value at our IUL at year 3 is 79. But because we've added this leverage, because of the additional growth, and again, this is assuming an average market performance of somewhere around 6.28%. So there's an assumption made here. So I'm not assuming that the market crashed in this scenario. I'll explain what happens when the market crashes. But right now, what we're assuming is that average growth of around 6.28%. So if that was to happen at year 3, instead of there being only 79,000 of cash value at year 3, it's actually more like 134. And then in addition, at year 5, that cash value jumps up as well. So in essence, the performance of MPI has allowed you to build exponentially more cash value than you would have been inside of an IUL. And now, remember that space I was talking about as far as filling up and not making your policy. If you notice, the leverage that I'm adding has exceeded this line, which is the MEC limit within this policy. Again, the MEC limit is around 110,000. So at year, what is that? At year 6, I have about 113,000 of leverage or of total premium going in, which means I'm over by about $3,000. How's that even possible? Well, it's possible because, again, what I have space, I have room to fill. And as long as I don't exceed that room, I can add additional growth in later years. But if you notice at this point, I cannot add any more. At this point, I have filled all of this additional space. And because I filled all of that additional space, if I add more money at year 10, it's year 11. No, year 10. If I add more leverage at year 10, meaning if after this year, I want to add any more leverage, I am now exceeding my MEC. I am MECing my policy. Oh no. If I MEC my policy, I lose all of the tax advantages. Well, the person that designed your policy should be engaged enough in this process with you so that you don't MEC your policy, because it's actually difficult to do. So if we get to this point, meaning we filled up all of the space and we get to this point, then what will happen is I will reach out to you and say, hey, we're now in a position to where you can actually put in more leverage. However, your MEC limit, we've filled up all of the possible space in your policy. And so in order for us to exceed the MEC limit, we actually have to raise the limit. We have to go ask for more life insurance. So how do we do that? Well, we have to do what's called jump. We have to jump the policy. And in really simple terms, we have to go qualify for more life insurance. So at this point, there may be an exam required for us to get you qualified for more life insurance. But what if at this point you don't qualify? Does that mean you just lost all of this? If you don't qualify, that just means we can't put more than this amount of premium into the policy, meaning we can fill up all the way up to this line. So it's 110,000 every year from this point forward if you don't qualify for us being able to add more leverage in your policy. But what about the overflow? What about the additional leverage that you have? Well, this dollar amount that we're over is still yours. So you can still use it to go do infinite banking. You can use it to max fund your kids' policies. You can use it to max fund your spouse's policy. You can use it to open new policies for your insurable interest because it's still your leverage. Didn't go anywhere. So moral of the story is, at a minimum, if we were to look out at all of this holistically, again, MPI is just an IUL. It's no different than this item right here. MPI is just an IUL with leverage. Where do we get that leverage from? Well, it's the leverage you've created every year as you've contributed to your policy. And all we did was take your leverage that you created and add it to the premium in your policy. Again, so the question is, well, if I continue to add this leverage into my policy, there's a possibility that I could become over leveraged. I want to pause on that question because I'll address that. But I understand the concern is that you may become over leveraged. But in simple terms, here's why you don't. If you were to take this leverage, if you were to take this, let's call it $151,000 of leverage outside of the policy, go do infinite banking and potentially not make back the money that you used. That means the money has left the policy. The $151,000 you've now taken to go do something else with. Well, what's going to happen is you've now put your policy at risk because you have now taken that dollar amount out of the policy. But in this case, this leverage that we're referencing never leaves the policy. So if you remember, why did we use an IUL to begin with? Because of its security. So if we're leveraging money from the life insurance company and we're putting that money back into this policy, and what is the only guarantee that is offered in an IUL? The only guarantee that is offered in an IUL is your money can't be lost due to market risk. So the money that you're putting as a premium in on an annual basis can't be lost. So that leverage that you're using, there's a contractual guarantee that it can't be lost. So what are you concerned of being over leveraged from if it's money that you can't lose? Now, the money that we're leveraging, we do owe an interest rate on. And that interest rate does have to be paid on an annual basis in order to keep this process going. But I'll get into that as well. But okay, so that's the only part that I want to kind of to highlight on these two pieces. The next question that I wanted to answer, but I'm not, we can jump into some questions. The next question that I want to answer though, after this though, is two things. One, what happens during a down market? And then two, this doesn't account for any fees is what the next argument would be. When in truth, every dollar, every figure that I'm showing on this screen, the fees are accounted for. And I can show you where. So those are the two things that I want to address so that we can go ahead and jump into questions.
Okay. All right. We got
Fire
a lot.
hose.
Yeah, it was a fire hose. And if you do have questions, be sure to either text them in or put them in the chat. Put them in the chat. We need like a chat.
There should be a
put them in
song.
the chat. All right.
Tell them where to go.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Put them in the chat. Put them in the chat. Okay, do you have to put a set amount in every month, or can you put less in one month and more in another? And can you start it without a lump sum and then put the lump sum in later? Do it.
So what we have to remember is, and if you don't mind leaving it up, because I'll try to address all of these questions. Couple things. What you have to remember is, what are you purchasing? You're not purchasing an MPI plan. You're not purchasing an MPI strategy. You're purchasing an IUL. And that IUL is a cash value life insurance product, permanent life insurance. So the money you're putting in is buying a certain amount of life insurance. So, and the amount of life insurance you're buying is based off your full year's contribution. So if you said, I'm going to put in $10,000 a year, then the life insurance company is going to assess you for, well, based off her age, based off her income, based off her health, based off of all of these factors, $10,000 is worth how much life insurance on her? I make up a number. Let's just say it's $200,000. So you're putting in $10,000 a year, and that $10,000 a year is buying you $200,000 in life insurance. So first off, because you're buying life insurance, you're going to get approved for what it is you asked for, and that $10,000 is what's allowing you to have this death benefit of $200,000 if something were to happen to you. So do you have to put in a set amount every month? The life insurance companies that we work with allow you to do monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, and annually. Meaning you can do monthly dollar amounts, and those will be set dollar amounts every month. You can do quarterly. So if you want to divide $10,000 up by 4, you can do a quarterly amount, quarterly amount of that $10,000, or you can do a one-time lump sum or do it semi-annually. Now, can you do $500 this month and $800 next month and it all add up to $10,000? The answer is no. The monthly amount would be, I'll call it automatic payment. So you fill out an EFT form and that set dollar amount is going to come out every month from your account. If you do, I think it's quarterly amounts, those are not set up on automatic payments. You would have to write a check or do some type of direct transfer quarterly to be able to send that dollar amount in. That is on you. If you do a one-time or an annual amount, then that can be done as a wire or a check every year. And it's at the start of the year. We fund our policies at the start of the year. And then that gives us all year to build back up more dollar amounts and then put in again. So those are basically the 4 ways you can contribute. And let's see, also, can you start it without a lump sum? A lump sum is not required. Again, you're going to get approved for what you asked for. If you said you wanted to do $10,000 a year, you'll get approved for whatever that life insurance is that makes up that $10,000. If in month 1 you put in 10,000 is $833 a month. If month 1 you put in your $833, month 2 you put in your $833, month 3 you put in your $833. Then in month 4 you went, I got my tax return, I want to dump in $10,000 at month 3. Well, what you're saying is, in addition to the $10,000 you've already put in, meaning you've already been qualified for, you want to put in an additional $10,000 on top of that. That's 20 grand. Well, 20 grand of premium is $400,000 of life insurance. You weren't approved for that. You were only approved for the $200,000 that you committed to. So can you put in that $10,000 randomly throughout the year? You cannot. But there are these, I'll call it these bookends, this range that will allow you to get some extra money into your account. It depends on what your guideline max is, and it depends on what your TAMR 7 pay is. Won't go into what any of those are. But the moral of the story is, if there's additional money that you want to get into your policy, there's a certain portion of that lump sum that you can. The key is you reach out to the person that structured this for you, and they will be able to educate you on all of that. The moral of the story is, you're buying life insurance and you're going to get approved for the amount that you asked for. And that's that set amount that you're able to contribute. And you have 4 different ways that you can contribute it. And a lump sum is not required unless you want to put it in. Next.
Well, and there's that. I'm going to skip the line and go with April's because
You have that right.
yeah, well, hers, you just let in there. You guys can't hear Frankie, but she's so funny. Okay, she's like, take my job, why don't you just take over then? Fine. Structure is everything. So you structure MPIs, right? Because you just said, like, reach out to the person who structured it or talk about the structure. So can you talk about, do you actually structure these, or how are these structured? Could anybody structure an IUL like this?
So, what's important about that question is, you can't go buy an MPI policy. You can't. The same way you cannot go buy an infinite banking policy, because they don't exist. Infinite banking is a strategy applied to a whole life policy, and you can absolutely apply the same strategy to index universal life policy. And MPI is a strategy, is a premium finance strategy. It's not new, been around since 1997. MPI is a premium finance strategy applied to an IUL. So, what's my role in this process? Well, as a retirement consultant, I build IRAs. I create IRAs and 401ks. So I provide you the structure you need to be able to take control over your retirement dollars to be able to go do what you want to do and build wealth. MPI happens to be another tool or strategy, or I am a licensed life insurance. I'm going too fast. I am a life insurance provider, and MPI, the strategy of MPI applied to an IUL, absolutely. You'd be able to get that structure through me as a certified MPI advisor, meaning I've taken the education, I've done all of the work necessary to understand how you structure these policies. So whether you wanted to do a 1-pay, 2-pay, whatever you wanted, however you wanted it structured, yes, I am the guy that you would talk to be able to get your MPI policy structured right. Absolutely.
You said to pay.
2-pay.
That's funny.
That's what it's called, a 2-pay.
To pay. Yeah.
2-pay.
Yeah. All right. I want to say sky, but that's not
Psych.
psych. I don't know how you say it. What you're supposed to put in the chat how we say this so we don't mess it up next time. Okay. What if we should make everybody a nickname? We'll vote. Yeah, we'll vote for that. Okay. So what if you have a lump sum and you put at the beginning, say 100,000, and do you still have to contribute into your policy monthly?
So
Maybe
there's
a little bit.
balance. There's balance that is needed inside your policy so that because remember, every year starting after year 3, you're bringing in leverage. So where are you going to get that leverage from if there isn't some consistent amount being applied? Now, how much do you have to apply? So if you put in $100,000 lump sum, can it be, I'd say the rule of thumb is right around 10 times your age is the minimum amount that you can put in. But can you put in less than that if you're putting in a lump sum? Absolutely. So if you wanted to put in $100,000 and $500 a month, that would be no problem. But there needs to be some consistent premium being placed in so that we can, as we're pulling in that leverage, we have that balance throughout your policy. Yes.
Okay. Now we've got, we're going to do question corner with Kelvin because he's got so many questions and he won't call in. That
Question
rhymed.
corner with Kelvin.
That was
Let's do
a
it.
little that was a little poetry in there, wasn't it, guys? Okay,
Bars.
bars. So here's the first one. If we want to borrow against our policy by year 3, can we borrow against the cash value of year 1 plus year 2 plus the relock at the beginning or any time during of year 3 before the premium for year 3 is paid? Ooh, it's a puzzle.
So
Riddle.
I'll compartmentalize.
What
If
does it
we want to
mean?
borrow against our policy by year 3, so that's saying we're going to wait till year 3 to borrow. Can we borrow against the cash values in year 1, year 2, at the beginning or any time during? So you have access to your cash value whenever you want access to your cash value. So there's no one stopping you from leveraging your cash value at year 1. But based off like what I showed you here, if we're putting in $110,000 at year 1, how much of that cash value is available to you at year 1? And this is a properly structured, properly designed IUL, less than 50%. So if you needed $70,000 to go do infinite banking, you don't have $70,000 available. So if you needed the 50, it's there. We ask you that you don't because your policy breaks even. So you have it, you have access to it whenever you want. Now, at year 3, this is all cumulative. So at year 3, the cash value from year 1, year 2, and the relock is all included at year 3 because it's cumulative. So when in year 3 can you then borrow your money? Well, the crediting happens point to point. So the crediting doesn't happen. Crediting is just saying that call option that we purchase, pull back in, and your money's grown inside of your policy. That happens 364 days after you've started or contributed to your policy. So the start of year 3, you've put in your premium. The start of year 3, you've added leverage from the life insurance company. The start of year 3 is everything from years 1 and year 2, all sitting in the bucket. But none of the crediting has happened because that crediting won't happen for another 364 days. So the growth on that money has not happened yet. So you're only leveraging what you've put in at year 3 and what has grown in years 1 and year 2. Can you leverage that money to go do whatever you want? Again, you can always leverage your cash value to do whatever it is you want to do. A better question is, should you? A better question is, what are you using your money for? Would it do better for you where it is, or would you make more money outside? If you're leveraging money that's growing at 7 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3%, is that better than you borrowing your money to go, I don't know, buy a rental property that's bringing you 6%? Which one mathematically makes more sense? And I would say what I love about this product is it provides or causes you to have discernment. Second time we've used this word today.
Oh,
and what that ultimately means is you have the ability to take a look at your policy and how it's growing and go, you know what? Even though that's an opportunity over there for me to do infinite banking and grow my money, that 5, 6, 7% that it's going to make me, it's not benefiting me because my policy is currently growing 14, 15, 16%. So hopefully that answered all of that. Next one, dear.
okay. So the next one, well, I'm trying to get Kelvin on the line.
Well, and remember, there are still 2 things that I want to address. One, what happens during a down market?
Okay.
And then 2, the fees. Like all of this stuff that I showed looks pretty, but it doesn't account for fees, when in truth it does. So just want to make sure. So if there's any questions associated with that, I'd say allow me to jump into those things. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, we can do the follow-up question for him because I don't know if
Give me the follow-up question. Let's go.
okay, cool. All right, here we go. I'm assuming we can't borrow against, this is before you answered. We can't borrow against year 3 until the premium is paid. Can we borrow against cash value at the beginning of year 3? That would be awesome if we could.
Again, how about this? When you create a cash value life insurance policy, I'm not going to put a name on it. When you create a cash value life insurance policy, any cash value you have in your cash value life insurance policy is your cash value to leverage whenever you want to. No one has control over your cash value. You do. MPI is a strategy. In order for the strategy to work, there's certain boxes that have to be checked. If you are getting an MPI policy for the strategy, then understand there are boxes that need to be checked in order for that strategy to work. If you're getting an MPI policy or a premium finance strategy to do infinite banking, you might want to rethink, because when you do the infinite banking matters. But do you have access to your cash? You have your access to your cash value whenever you want. There's no one that can tell you no.
All right, Ben's got a question.
Let's go, Ben.
Is it beneficial to fund your MPI using a second lien HELOC by chunking into it versus saving your cash flow monthly and then add the lump sum at the beginning of the next year?
That's how I fund mine.
Boom. Gosh, I need a... No, that's not really appropriate. I know. I know I need better ones for sure. I need to
Just to sprinkle on that a little bit. Think about it. You have this HELOC that has room. It has a limit, and you're nowhere near that limit, so it has room. You take a portion from that HELOC, dump it into a vehicle like this. So now it's making money for you here. Well, when you do that, what happens with the HELOC? The balance goes back up. Well, if you've got cash flow and you understand velocity banking and you understand how to work a debt tool, then as you're putting all of your cash flow into the debt tool, what's happening to that HELOC? The balance is going back down. Well, in a year's time, you've now dropped that balance down to a certain point. What are you going to do with that room that you've just created? Why wouldn't you take that same dollar amount, dump it back into this vehicle, let that next dollar amount work for you even more? Okay, the balance goes back up. But you understand velocity banking, so you're going to work that balance back down. And then you're going to do it again. Like, why not? Why not rinse and repeat?
Hey. Okay, so we've got some more questions, but I don't even know if they're people who are watching the live. They're just asking some questions. So
Like, what is MPI?
No, it's I think they're just they might be watching a different video or something and had a follow-up question from that because I don't think they're currently watching.
So on that note, I was with a client today and I kept getting the text message A, B. And what was happening is they were answering questions from a previous live and I was getting the text message. It's the funniest thing.
Ah, it's funny. Okay, so do you want to jump into the fees then? I think this
do it.
would be a great time.
I am not jumping into the fees first. I'm going to jump into what happens to what happens during a down market.
You jump in the way you want to jump in. Go off, King. Oh, hey, Zandria. She in the chat? Oh, there she is. Yeah, she does. Everybody misses Frankie, and we snagged her up. So that's our flex. Yeah, that's our flex. All right, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, well, hold on. Let me add a fun thing because last time it wasn't giving what it needed to give. We all
Wasn't
know
fun.
it didn't. Yeah, we all know what we were looking for.
All right. So a couple things. One of the questions that is consistently asked is, okay, what you show looks great. Like that looks like performance over time, no ills, no risks, all great and wonderful, all roses. What happens during a down market? Because the concern is during a down market, now I'm magically going to owe money that I didn't have to owe before. And now I could be potentially putting myself in a position to where I'm going to lose all of the benefits associated with my policy. Like it's going to impact my death benefit. It's going to impact the growth inside of my policy. Like there's a lot of fear associated with what happens during the down market. So what I wanted to do is just highlight, and I just picked a year. The year I picked was 2015. So again, MPI may sound new to some, but the strategy of MPI, premium finance strategy, that is not new. It's been around since, again, 1997. It's just that people like me and you couldn't qualify for it. So we have the data that says, hey, how has the premium finance strategy performed since 1997? We have that data. And we have modeling that says, okay, how would the premium finance strategy perform prior to 1997? Like we can go all the way back to the Great Depression. So my point is, we understand how this process works, and here's what we've learned. I'll give you the answer to the quiz now. What we've learned is a strategy like premium financing can handle up to 5 to 6 consecutive down markets. So it's not perfect, but a strategy like MPI, premium finance strategy that's been in existence since 1997, that process, if done right, again, structured right, can handle somewhere around 5 to 6 consecutive down markets. So it's not perfect, but please show me one strategy you have that can handle 5 to 6 consecutive down markets. How about your 401k? How many consecutive down markets can your 401k handle? How about your Roth IRA? Day traders? How about real estate? How about your infinite banking guaranteed growth of 4%? With the consecutive market downturns of 5 to 6, this process starts to implode. But one down market doesn't do it. 2 down markets won't do it. 3 down markets. The Great Depression wouldn't destroy your premium finance strategy. We have the data to support. But I go back to name one vehicle that can handle one down market or 2 in a row. There's not very many. So again, this may not be perfect, but it's pretty strong. So what I wanted to do was highlight 2015. 2015 is a 0 year. And I'm going to make some assumptions. Am I frozen? There we go. I want to make some assumptions.
Okay.
And it's 2015 and we have contributed $10,000. So we're well into the MPI strategy. We're well into the premium finance strategy. We've got $10,000 of premium going in and we're leveraging $10,000 from the life insurance company. So there's $10,000 of leverage going into the general fund. That $10,000 is buying a certain amount of life insurance. The amount of life insurance that $10,000 bought is $300,000. So it's 2015. We're putting in $10,000 of our money.
Yep.
And there's already, and then we're leveraging an additional $10,000 from the life insurance company. So there's a total of $20,000 going into the general fund. The general fund is this bucket. What is so special about this bucket? What's special about this bucket is the 0% floor. What that means is when I put in $10,000 and when the life insurance company put in $10,000, that $10,000 is protected by this 0% floor, meaning no loss due to market risk. So regardless of who's president, regardless of what Elon Musk did or didn't do, whether Bezos went to the moon or not, your money inside this bucket is protected. And let's kind of talk through a little bit this $10,000 that we're leveraging from the life insurance company. I call it RELOC, Retirement Equity Line of Credit. We call it match. We call it leverage. We call it the participating loan. And in truth, that's what it is. It's the participating loan. It's the same participating loan that people who have a whole life policy leverage against to do infinite banking. It's the same participating loan. It's the same participating loan that inside of an IUL is you're building cash value. And so if you're wanting to be able to leverage that cash value, go do whatever you want, you're going to take that participating loan and go do it. It's the same. It's not different. It's not new. It's not magic. It's the exact same. We've given it a different name because the name makes sense. Retirement Equity Line of Credit. It's a line of credit from the life insurance company that we're putting back inside of our policy. It just makes sense. So this $10,000 is the RELOC, the match, the leverage, the participating loan. The bottom line is we are borrowing this $10,000 from the life insurance company. And as a result, when we borrow this $10,000 from the life insurance company, where does it go? If the $10,000 we borrowed from the life insurance company went in our pocket, then what would we owe back to the life insurance company? If we borrowed $10,000 from the life insurance company, we would owe the life insurance company the $10,000 we put in our pocket, plus the interest that it cost us, the opportunity cost, plus the interest that it cost us to borrow that $10,000. That's any bank, any life insurance company, any person. If you borrow $10,000 from me, you owe me $10,000 plus the interest that I'm charging you. But here's the thing about this $10,000. This $10,000 that we're leveraging inside of this policy is not in my pocket. It's in this bucket. It's in the general fund. And the general fund is where the 0% floor lives. So what that means is I can't owe something I don't have. So I don't owe the life insurance company $10,000. I am leveraging the life insurance company's $10,000, and that $10,000 is sitting protected inside of this bucket, also called the general fund. So here's why I'm sharing this.
Can you repeat that? Yeah. Can you go one more time?
Here's why I'm sharing this. The $10,000 that I'm borrowing is not in my pocket. Because it's not in my pocket, I don't owe it. I can't owe something that I don't have. I can't count the $10,000 because I don't physically have it. Where is it? The $10,000 is with the company that lent it to me. Is that lent?
We're going with it. We voted it in.
The $10,000 is not with me. The $10,000 is in the general fund protected by the 0% floor. So because I don't have it, I don't owe it. But there is a cost to me leveraging money from the life insurance company. That cost is at 4%. My goal is when I borrow this is arbitrage. It's using other people's money. It's the art of real estate. It's everything that we've heard. There's social media lights all over TikTok telling you what to do. This is no different. We're going to borrow someone else's money, the life insurance company's money. We're going to put that life insurance company's money in a bucket that's protected. So I'm not worried about whether or not we lose that. And then we're going to leverage that $10,000 and hopefully make more than it costs for us to borrow it. So if I'm borrowing $10,000 at 4%, my goal is to at least make 5. Because if I can make 5, I'm going to give the life insurance company back the 4 that I owe them, and I'm going to keep that 1. I just made 1% on someone else's money. No effort of my own. It's called passive income. So
true passive income.
So I put 10,000 in this bucket. I'm leveraging 10,000 from the life insurance company. There's a total of 20 grand in this bucket.
Yeah.
This bucket is going to make this bucket is comprised of what? Before I say what it's going to make. What is the general fund comprised of? And let's be clear. This isn't the general fund for MPI. This isn't the general fund for specifically the policies that Donnell creates. This is the general fund for all cash value life insurance products. All. The general fund is comprised of AAA rated bonds. Life insurance companies like to make slow, steady, and secure returns. The way they guarantee, again, because a whole life policy, you get a guaranteed 4%. The way they guarantee that growth is because they're putting their money in these vehicles that guarantee them growth. And what they do is, as you, the stakeholder, because it's a mutual company, as you, the stakeholder in this mutual company, they reward you for putting your money in their general fund with a certain percentage. Well, with a whole life policy, it's a guaranteed 4%. Awesome. Inside of an IUL, the percentage of growth is not guaranteed. It's a range. So it's not a guaranteed 4%. It's a range of somewhere between 3 to 7%. So if you're getting a guaranteed 4 and I'm getting a range, you can argue that you will make more over time because when I'm making 3, you're making 4. But when I'm making 7, you're still only making 4. But anyway, bottom line is it's not guaranteed. It's a range somewhere between 3 and 7%. What I always like to do is then what's halfway between that range? 5. So on average, the money you put inside this general fund is going to grow your money somewhere around 5%. And in addition, with the life insurance companies we use, A+ rated, been around since before the Great Depression, they have never not paid. So there's never been a year in their history, not my history, there's never been a time in the life insurance company's history where they did not pay out that percent. And again, it's somewhere between 3 and 7. So sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 7. So in this case, I'm going to use 5. So we put 10,000 in the bucket, 10,000 of your money, 10,000 of life insurance company's money going into the bucket. That $10,000 is going to make you somewhere around 5%. Simple math. What is 5% of $10,000? How about $500? And for the amount that I leverage from the life insurance company, what is 5% of $10,000? How about $500? So someone way smarter than me, because here's where we're going to introduce risk. Here's where the people who do not like like index universal life insurance policies say, hey, you have the risk of losing the money that you've earned due to market risk. Some people say you're buying index funds. That's a lie. We're not buying index funds. What's happening is we're going to take this dollar amount, this $500 that I made, and the $500 that have just made off the money that I've leveraged from the life insurance company. We're going to take this $1,000 and buy a one-time call option in the S&P 500 index. If you get an IUL from anywhere else or anywhere in general, you have the ability, there's probably 10, maybe 12 different index funds you can use. The premium finance strategy only uses the S&P. Why? Because data over time says it's the best one. I think we are very much open to using other index funds, but the data says the S&P is the best. So someone way smarter than me, I am not buying call options. I am not licensed to buy call options. So this is something that Mutual of Omaha or Mass Mutual or Prudential or Transamerica or whoever the Athene, NLG, whoever the life insurance company is, their actuaries in their company are the ones that are buying these call options. So that $500 that of mine plus the $500 that I've leveraged is going to now go buy a call option. This is my high-level example of what a call option looks like.
Ooh, that's nice.
Someone way smarter than me is going to say, hey, and this is 2015, by the way. The market crashed in 2015. The market, you about to say something?
Yeah, real quick.
Go ahead.
This is just to, we're recapping what happens in a down market.
And I'm using 2015 as that year.
Okay, but just for the people who are trying to wrap their head around what this is, yeah, it is a fire hose. April's like, what is a relock? Can we go back to that? Yeah, because she's just trying to understand what it is that we're learning. So right now, we have popped the hood, right?
Yes.
And we're looking at all of the stuff.
How the machine works.
Yeah, some of us just want to know, where do I check the oil? Just tell me where that part is, right? Like if I need to put jumper cables on this thing, like where do I stick those? These are the important things that I need to know. I don't need to know where all the belts and the hoses are. Like I don't care about that part. What you're talking about is like more technical things that the majority of people pick it apart when they're giving criticism towards this strategy. Again, this is a strategy, not a policy, right? Which
That's
is
right.
why this makes this different.
That's
So
right.
what we're learning right now is we're learning how to clap back when people try to compare it to something that is not fair, and not a fair comparison, right? Okay, so that's what we're talking about. Really quick though, because we've had a couple of people ask the question about the relock, just so that they understand where that fits inside of here, because you did mention it in the beginning and then it is a little confusing. So I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Not a problem. So
Okay.
the money being leveraged from the life insurance company, leverage is just a fancy word for saying borrow. So the money that we're borrowing from the life insurance company to pull into our policy, where did it come from? It came from the previous year's growth of our own policy. So, and what's happening is this $10,000 is a brand new $10,000, meaning the life insurance company looked at our policy, looked at our whole structure of our policy and said this: okay, looks like you have about, I'll make up a number. Looks like you've got about $30,000 or $10,000 working for you. We're going to allow you to borrow $10,000 from us, the life insurance company, but we're going to use your money as collateral. Meaning, if for whatever reason you don't pay this $10,000 back, we know where you live. And we will come for your $10,000 to pay to make sure we get our money back. So they're going to leverage us as collateral. But what we're receiving is a brand new check for $10,000 from the life insurance company. And that check that we're borrowing has many names. Some people call it a relock.
Oh no.
Some people call it a relock. Relock stands for Retirement Equity Line of Credit. Google it.
It doesn't exist.
Thank you. You can Google it, but it does not exist. It's a completely made up word. Because
yeah.
as you're walking through this strategy, you look for little names to call things to make it move fast. So this borrowed $10,000 from the life insurance company that is leveraging our cash value as collateral was deemed a retirement equity line of credit because it was easy. It's a completely made up word.
Well, I just want to state that doesn't help the people who are confused. But
Fair. I gotta give you history, right?
Yeah, but this is the
Did you
important part.
for me?
I'm trying to help, trying to gain some clear the confusion. Okay, this is the part. April, I hope you're still with us. Okay, this is the part. She was asking about retirement line of credit. Can you have a line of credit in a retirement account? You can't.
Can
Hold
you
on.
have a line of credit
A line of credit.
inside of a traditional retirement account?
Yes.
Can you have a line of credit inside of a traditional retirement account? Let me highlight a 401k. A 401k, you've put money in, a 401k you have matched. That 401k has grown over time. And then you go, I'm not at retirement age. Can I use some of the money inside of my 401k and go buy a car, pay a bill, build a house? Can I leverage some of the money inside of my 401k to do that? You're going to learn that you can.
No.
But does that line of credit live inside of that 401k? It does not. What's happening is the company that you work for says there's a max of 50% of what's in it up to $50,000 that you can leverage inside of your 401k and go do something with. Can you then take that loan that you've just leveraged from the life insurance? Can you take that loan that you've just leveraged from your 401k, take that dollar amount and put it back into your 401k as brand new principal? Because as of right now, how do you contribute to your 401k? There's a dollar amount that's pulled out pre-tax. I don't even see it. It's coming out of my check and I don't even know that it's gone. Can I now take this leveraged money that I got from my 401k and now put it as brand new contribution into my 401k? You can't. I don't know of a vehicle that you can.
Okay, but the
Except for
truth
this one.
is,
Go ahead.
you have to go through a bunch of red tape in order to even leverage those accounts because you don't really own them.
Do you? Because I think it depends on who you have that 401k with. You're right. With your
I'm talking
current
about,
employer,
yeah,
there are hoops
right,
to jump through. But
right,
if you have your own 401k, there are no hoops to jump through.
right.
You have the ability, you have full control over your retirement dollars to be able to leverage your 401k to do what you want to with it. But can you take that leveraged money and put it back into your 401k as brand new principal or brand
Okay,
new? You cannot. Go
to
ahead.
answer April's question though, traditionally you cannot, there's not a
Traditionally,
line
you
of
cannot.
credit for a
There's not a
traditional
line of credit.
retirement account.
That is
A self-directed account can function like a line, like in the same way of a line, like a line of credit can. Money can go in and money can come out, and you have access, and it's pretty liquid in that way.
no. A
There's
401
qualifying things about it, but you can.
No, no, because this is where people will get in trouble if you look at a self-directed 401k this way. This will get a lot of people in trouble. Your 401k, because now we go off topic, but I gotta address it. Your 401k, especially if it's a self-directed 401k, is a standalone entity. Matter of fact, your 401k is a trust. It's a person. And you just happen to wear the trustee, the hat as trustee of that 401k. And so you can take action as the trustee of that 401k, but that 401k is taking action. You aren't leveraging it. Your 401k is taking action. Your 401k is buying a property. Your 401k is investing. You just happen to be taking action for that 401k. So
Yeah.
it is not the same, sweetheart.
Well, as long as you're doing, as long as you're doing qualified things with it,
That's important.
what I'm saying though is the when you think of a line of credit though, when you
Okay.
think of the access that you have with a line of credit, when you
Yes.
think of the freedom that you have with a line of credit,
Control.
control. There,
Yes.
okay, so there you go. When she's asking, can you have a retirement line of credit? This right here, what you're showing them is the closest thing to a true line of credit in the fact that nobody's going to tell you what you can or can't invest in. No one's going to tell you what you can and can't use these funds for.
Right.
And in addition to that, you're also able to use it not just outside of itself, but you're also able to use it inside of itself. And so that's what makes this different. Now, I hope that part cleared things up for you, April.
Mud. Clear as mud.
But oh, okay. Well, he's about to.
Yeah, I've been trying to get there.
Yeah, he's gonna get there. But the part that we wanted to clarify was around the relock feature, and that this is what makes this different. This is why we talk about this so much, is because knowing your leverage is powerful, and this is why it's powerful.
Not only this is what makes this different, this is what makes a lot of people angry. This is what confuses a lot of people. That's why there's so much misinformation out here, because this feature, this $10,000 okay. This 10,000, when you're talking to people who understand life insurance, you have to question when they look at this $10,000, what is it that they see? Well, you have to think back to, well, how do these life insurance people use loans?
Yeah.
Well, inside of a traditional cash value life insurance policy, when you borrow money from your policy, you owe an interest rate tied to that money that you owe. And if you don't pay it back, what's the impact of that? It eats into your cash value. And if the loan becomes too big, it can cause your policy to implode. That is how people who traditionally use cash value life insurance policies use these loans. Well, they struggle with the fact that this doesn't have that same impact. How is that? How is it possible that you're taking the same participating loan and it not have the same impact as it would if you were to do this inside of this other type of policy?
Okay, so then to that, I'm going to say this is why people get into the weeds and they start arguing points that are not valid because they don't,
They don't understand.
and this feels so overwhelming to learn why this works this way. But this is the part right here. just because something is harder to learn or harder to understand does not mean it is not worth your time to learn. Okay? So let's get on the same page there. Because this is a game changer. This is why a lot of people will pass it over and say, I don't want to learn about it. I don't need to learn about it. It just looks like an IUL, right? I don't need to learn about it. I don't want to learn about it. It's too complicated. So I'm just going to say that this doesn't work because there's a lot of information I needed to hear. And you know what? My brain's like, nope, 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 nope. Every time somebody's trying to go over it, I just gloss right over. I decide that information wasn't important enough to learn because I've already made decisions or assumptions or opinions about this particular stuff. Now, just because we don't want to learn how a car runs, all of the components that fit together, does that mean that we don't need those components in order for the car to drive? No. Does it mean that you could ride a bike instead? Absolutely. But you're not going to get there as fast, right? It's not going to be the same experience. So my point is, I think that the feedback on what is confusing to people, we want this feedback. So April, thank you for hanging in as long as you could with us here. But if for everyone else, we need the feedback because we need to figure out how to make sure that we've gone over this a ton of times already. So it's not that people just aren't getting it. It's that there is a reason why there's been so much gatekeeping and why a lot of people haven't tried to explain this, because you've got to be able to explain it too, right? So the more people that are educated, the more people that will be out there talking about it. And now they'll understand it, they'll see the value. So there's that part. If you have questions though, please, either you could call in if you don't feel like you could put the question in text form, or you can book a call and have them go over it with you on a one-on-one, or you can put it in the chat. But let's do that, and let's get those questions out so that we can get the clarification and get everybody on the same page.
And just so we're clear, I'm not doing this because I enjoy it. I'm doing this because I want you to be able to, and I'm going fast intentional. I want you to be able to watch it, not get it, watch it again, not get it, watch it again, and start to click. And how about this? None of these examples that I'm sharing with you are new. There are many lives where we've covered these. I haven't changed the handwriting. It's the same writing. There's many lives, and we're going to cover this many more times because it's the repetition part that's going to allow you to actually sink in. And this is important because, yes, this might be the live where you wanted to know details A, B, and C, whereas when I did this the first time, you didn't care about it. And so I will continue to do this over and over and over again because we need to get it. Because once you see this, you cannot unsee it. Once you understand how this works, you get why it's been broken all of these years. When you understand how this works, it will help you understand why there's so many life insurance people concerned. Because they're concerned that, oh, he's pulling back the curtain on something that we've been hiding for a long time. And now that these people understand this, they're actually coming to us educated. They're coming to us with better questions. And because they're coming to us with better questions, you can't just get an IUL from anywhere because that structure doesn't look like this, because that structure doesn't allow you to build compound interest over time. Whereas before they would just go, don't worry about that page in that illustration. Don't worry about it. You'll be okay. Just continue to put your money, and then you're 10 years down the road and you're wondering why I don't have the cash value I thought I was going to have. It's because you don't have a max funded option BIUL with leverage. It's because
with leverage.
Right. There's so many reasons why, but that's the point. That's the purpose. At least that's the purpose for me of wanting to go through this. And again, we will go through the exact same thing over and over and over again. Can I jump back in, or we got other questions?
Yep. I'm gonna have to put chapters on this one. Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. So, am I back on the Bible?
Yep, there we go. Right.
So, where are we at? So we have, let me come back because I know it's been a while. So I've contributed $10,000. I've added $10,000 of leverage from the life insurance company. Both $10,000, 20 in total, are sitting inside the general fund. What's so powerful about the general fund is that's where my money is protected. That's where the life insurance company's money is protected. And this money that I'm leveraging from the life insurance company is a brand new $10,000. And because it's sitting in this general fund, I am not concerned about losing the life insurance company's money. And again, I don't physically have this $10,000. I can't touch it at all. But there's a cost to me leveraging their money. That cost is 4%. We'll get into that cost. That money that I have inside that general fund, though, is making a certain return, because that bucket, that general fund is comprised of AAA rated bonds. So that $10,000 is making on average somewhere around 5%. 5% of $10,000 is $500. So $500 of my money plus $500 of the life insurance company's money. We are now about to introduce risk. Nowhere between Sunday and today have I talked about risk. So here's where you have the risk, the potential of losing your money. I put up the wealth equation. I highlighted that there's a plus sign in there that makes your money secure. This is that security. But we're about to take money outside of this secure place, this $1,000, 500 of mine, 500 of life insurance companies, and we're about to introduce risk. That risk is in the form of taking this $500 and putting it at the risk of the market. What's happening? We're going to take this $500 and someone way smarter than me, some actuary who does this for a living, is going to buy a one-time call option. Again, point to point. So if it's October 25th, this call option is probably going to be done somewhere around October 24th of 2024. So I'm spending all year contributing to this account. Then on October 24th of 2024, there's the crediting that happens, meaning this call option is purchased with all of the money that's been accumulated in this account to now buy this call option. Well, what's a call option though? And I apologize because this is my very simple explanation of what a call option is. You can use this at parties, but anywhere else, they will laugh at you. There are people who I'm sure do call options for a living, so I would love the feedback on how close I am. But the moral of the story is this $1,000, someone way smarter than me is going to say, I believe the S&P 500 index. We're using the S&P 500 index. There are many different indexes out there. We're using the S&P 500 because it performs the best. Someone way smarter than me that is going to say, I believe this, I'm going to take this $1,000 and I believe the S&P 500 index is going to close at 2,100. It's been performing pretty well. So I believe this year in 2015, the S&P 500 index is going to close at 2,100. If it closes at 2,400, I'm golden. I make money. If it closes at 2,800, I'm golden. I make 100. I'm golden. I make money. But if the S&P 500 index closes anywhere less than 2,100, this $500 that I use and this $500 that I leverage from the life insurance company, I have the potential to lose. Well, what happened in 2015? In 2015, the market crashed. And in 2015, if I would have bought this call option at that point, even though I said the index is going to close at 2,100, it actually closed at 2,038, which means this money that I use to make money over here, I lost. So I don't have that $1,000 anymore. But what happened to the money that I borrowed from the life insurance company? What happened to the principal that I had when I started? The short answer to that question is nothing. Nothing happened to my 20,000 that I leveraged. 10,000 of mine, 10,000 of the life insurance company. But this $500 right here, it's gone. I don't have it anymore. The life insurance company isn't upset with me because it happened to them too. But this $10,000 that I leveraged was leveraged at a cost, meaning I borrowed this $10,000, but it wasn't free. I borrowed this $10,000 at 4%. It says it right here. And let's do some actual math. If I borrow $10,000 from the life insurance company, someone owes the life insurance company 4% of $10,000, which is $400. Here's what's not going to happen. Again, I borrowed $10,000. It's 2015. The market has crashed. Someone owes the life insurance company $400. Here's what is not going to happen. April is not going to get some invoice in the mail that says, I know you weren't anticipating the market crashing, but April, you owe us $400 and it is October 25th. we'll give you till November 15th. Here's the invoice for you to pay us our $400 back. That does not happen. There are two things that happens during this process. And this is the other piece that people who provide life insurance policies can't seem to wrap their head around. But it is very, very simple. The agreement that this strategy has with the life insurance companies that we use, these life insurance companies understand how compound interest works. So the last thing they want to do is impact this equation. So the life insurance company says this: hey, we know you didn't anticipate the market crashing. So what we're going to do is we're going to defer all interest payments until you pass. So let me restate it. The life insurance company states they're going to defer all interest payments, all interest payments. I didn't say they're going to defer the $10,000 that we borrowed. We're going to defer all interest payments until you die. You owe interest on the $10,000. That's $400. Do you owe $10,400 or do you owe $400? You only owe $400. Why do you only owe $400 and you don't owe the $10,000? If you remember, the reason we don't owe $10,000 is because we don't have $10,000. The life insurance company has the $10,000. If they wanted their $10,000 back, all they have to do is take it back. But we do owe the 4% that we leveraged, or the opportunity cost. We do owe the 4% opportunity cost on us borrowing that $10,000. And that 4% opportunity cost is $400. So again, the life insurance company comes along and says, hey, I know the market crashed, but that $400 you owe, we're going to defer all interest payments until you die. And then the second thing that's going to happen is, hey, we need to keep track of how many times the market crashed and how much interest you owe. So the way we're going to keep track is it's a simple accounting measure. We are going to do what's called a ledger move, and I'll show you physically what this looks like. But the bottom line is this is the life insurance company's way of keeping track of how much interest has been accumulated. So again, they're going to defer all interest payments till you die. And the second piece is going to be a ledger move. So let's first talk about deferring all interest payments until you die. Let's talk about that. So if you remember, the original $10,000 bought a certain amount of life insurance. How much life insurance did the original $10,000 buy? $300,000. So let's just say I happen to pass away in the year that the market crashed. So I put my $10,000 in the bucket. I borrowed $10,000. My $20,000 made $1,000. I took that $1,000, went and bought a call option. Call option failed. I got so freaked out, I passed away. The life insurance company says, hey, before my beneficiaries receive $300,000, the life insurance company says, we need to make the books right. You borrowed this $10,000 at 4%. 4% of $10,000 is $400. Before your beneficiaries receive $300,000, we're going to take that $400 out of that dollar amount, and your beneficiaries will receive $299,600. I don't think your beneficiaries are too upset with you either. But the life insurance company just made themselves whole, because when they took that $400 out of the $300,000, they already have the 10. So $10,000 that they already have plus the $400 of interest that was owed, they are now whole, which means the life insurance company is satisfied. They can pay out their beneficiaries the way they're supposed to be. So again, defer all interest payments till you die. If you die in that moment, the $400 comes out of that $300,000. The second thing is the life insurance company has to keep track of how much interest is owed. So let's talk about that. Someone owes the life insurance company $400. Well, inside this bucket, there are $2 amounts. There's my $10,000 and there's the life insurance company's $10,000 inside this bucket. If I move $400 from my side of the bucket to the life insurance company side of the bucket, I have now satisfied the money or the interest that is owed. So this ledger move, the life insurance company is going to say, hey, we're going to move $400 of your money over to our side of this equation. And when that happens, what has just occurred? Well, my $10,000 became $9,600. And the life insurance companies $10,000 just became $10,400. So again, all in the same bucket. No money came out of the bucket. I make money off the accumulated value, meaning I make money off all the money in the bucket. There's $20,000 in the bucket. When I move $400 of my money over to the life insurance company side of the bucket, what just happened? I am now left with $9,600 of my money on my side. The life insurance company now has $10,400, $400 of that being my money on their side. But when you add $9,600 of my money plus $10,400 of the life insurance company's money, what do you get? You get $20,000, which means even though there's been a shift of cash inside the bucket, the accumulated value, which is how I make money, I don't just make money off my money. I make money off the money that I'm leveraging as well. So the accumulated value never changes. But did I satisfy the loan? Did I satisfy my responsibility? My responsibility was I borrowed $10,000. It cost me 4%. That's $400. Does the life insurance company still have the $10,000? Yes. Does the life insurance company now have their $400 that I owed them? The answer is yes. So what does it mean if you were to go to a bank, buy a car, get this loan, pay back the loan and the interest? When you pay back the loan and interest to a bank, what happens? The loan that you have now becomes self-collateralized, meaning you no longer owe any responsibility on this loan. Well, this is no different. When you borrow $10,000 from the life insurance company and you pay back the $400 that you owed to the life insurance company, you have now satisfied your obligation to the life insurance company. And as a result, because you have satisfied the obligation, the loan has now become self-collateralized. Because the loan has now become self-collateralized, what do you get to do with the loan? You get to now borrow it again. Because you've met the responsibility of paying back that $400, you can now borrow all the money you've leveraged again and add it into this bucket again the following year. And I'm not going to go through another year, but my point is you're borrowing money that you don't physically have. The life insurance company has it, so there's no risk. The opportunity cost on that money you owe. So in a down market, you owe it. But the life insurance company understands how money works. The life insurance company understands how to build compound interest. The life insurance company does not want to disrupt that equation. So the life insurance company says, hey, okay, we're going to defer that opportunity cost until you pass. But to keep track of it, we are going to make a ledger move inside of the general fund just so that we don't lose track of that money that's owed. But when that's done, that self-collateralizes the loan, which puts you in a position to where now you can borrow it again. That's what happens when the market crashes.
Well, dang.
That was legitness. Yeah, it was. Huh?
Okay. Oh, okay. Good. We thought we lost April first and foremost. So we all had to do a check, make sure she was still with us because we didn't want to lose her. And
Someone
then
passed out.
yeah, and then okay. So now we're gonna call Kelvin. Yeah. Can you guys hear?
Hello. Please state your name after the tone, and Google Voice will try to connect you.
Oh, okay. Kelvin, are you there? Kelvin, are you with us? Clearly, I don't know how to use this. Wow.
Technology.
You guys excited? Hi, Kelvin.
Hi.
How cool! You're our
Yay.
second. You are our second caller. How exciting is
Yay.
that?
Very.
Woohoo! Oh, we got it.
I have to pause the video because there's feedback or there's a delay, but
Oh yeah. Okay.
You
Well,
can
at
go
least,
watch yourself later.
actually, what you could do is just mute it so that you can still see his answer to your questions. How about that?
okay. Yep.
And I'll use my hands a lot.
Okay, Kelvin had really great questions. By the way, Kelvin, truly enjoy you inside of our Facebook group.
Oh, thanks.
You are funny too, by the way. And today he was describing velocity banking, and he used the words situation to describe what people
Yes.
the situation people get into when it's kind of a
And it's a bad situation.
yeah, it's kind of a
Pretty
little bit
bad.
of a show. And so, he came up with a great word, situation, and I think we should make it put on a t-shirt.
I
Okay,
like it.
Kelvin,
What's your question?
I'm gonna stop talking. So go ahead. What's your question?
Okay. All right. So let me see the list of questions.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
we've even got them to post some of them. Yeah.
Okay. So there's all this talk about fees, and they keep talking about how there you go, imploding because of fees.
Yep. So IULs are not that great. So when they are talking, most of the time they are talking about IULs. IULs not properly designed are pretty mediocre. And one of the issues with an IUL is the fee structure. But here's the thing. The guy designing the policy has some control over that fee structure. And if we are really focused on income, and if you remember, I started this thing out with what is MPI? What is a premium finance strategy? It's a max funded, MAX, max funded, option B, IUL with leverage. Max funded, I started with max funded for a reason. What does max funded mean? Max funded is saying we're purchasing the least amount of life insurance legally possible, which is a strange term for someone who makes their commissions off selling life insurance. Max funded is saying I'm purchasing the least amount of life insurance legally possible. So you're telling me that the guy selling you life insurance, his job is to sell you as much life insurance as possible. But what he's doing is he's selling you the least amount of life insurance legally possible. How does that help you? Well, the less life insurance you buy, the less fees. Meaning this product has to be designed with the least amount of fees. Who do the fees help and who do the fees hurt? Fees inside of life insurance hurt you and make a lot of money for the people selling life insurance. So if this is a max funded policy, it has to be designed with the least amount of fees. If it's designed with the least amount of fees, that implies, at least from my perspective, it implies that the structure of this policy has to be designed with a decreasing fee structure. Well, I happen to have, because this is kind of a softball question, I kind of have the example of what the fees look like in what we've been discussing. And the reason they say it implodes is two reasons. One, the fees continue to get larger, similar to a 401k. People who have 401ks, they have these financial advisors and they say, hey, I'm only making 1%. But when you compound 1% over time, that 1% continues to get larger and ends up eating up 2/3 of your account. So that compounding fee structure is what causes you to lose money inside of your 401k. Well, you can design an IUL with a compounding fee structure. So here's how you know whether or not you have one. Go home, grab your illustration, IUL, whole life, doesn't matter. Grab your illustration and go to the fees page.
He's probably already home. I'm just going to say that.
I'm speaking in general, dear. Okay. The way you know whether or not your policy is maybe structured properly is you go to the fees page and see how those fees are structured. The first red flag, though, is when you go to your illustration and realize you don't have a fees page. Ask the question why your illustration does not have a fees page, because every illustration is developed the same. Every illustration has 20 plus pages. Every illustration has a fees page. If yours does not, there's a reason why it's there. Well, it's not there. And so, long story short, I've got the fees here, so I do want to walk through the fees, but we can get through more questions if you would like, or I can jump into the fees now. Up to you.
Yeah, it's, well, this is related to fees, which is the interest that we're paid on based on the S&P. Is that a gross percentage or is that after fees? Or is that,
So every dollar amount. So when let me this was 10,000. So you put in $10,000 of premium, right? When you go to the illustration, you put in $10,000 of premium, but when you go over to the accumulation column, you don't see $10,000 working for you.
You want the vibe board?
I'll get there.
Oh, okay.
When you put in at $10,000, when you put in at $10,000 of premium, you don't have $10,000 working for you. And because you don't have $10,000 of working for you, that difference, those are the fees. So when that accumulation value is in, we do the call option based off the growth, based off the accumulation value, and then the cash value associated with that. It is all after the fees, and your illustration shows it all. So no, your $10,000 isn't, you're not doing the call option on the $10,000, getting the full performance on the $10,000. It is after the fees, and the calculator that we show, all are after the fees. The numbers that I'm showing in this example are all after fees. Good question though. Next one.
Yeah, what else you got, Calvin? Put call, right?
Did we lose it?
yes. No. This is actually a thing about just cap. Okay, so they're talking about adjusting caps. Adjusting the cap downward after each market. Basically, it says right there.
So the cap as in, and so for those of us who may not understand, there are a few different cap rates. I want to make sure I understand, because some people are talking about the cap rate associated with the participating loan. Some people are talking about the cap rate or the cap associated with the call option. So it kind of depends on what we're talking about. But if you remember the example, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah. So I wasn't too sure what they were talking about when they're talking about cap rate. Were they talking about the ceiling, or were they talking about? So they're talking about the call option.
Perfect. So in that example that I used, where we take the $500 of my money, $500 of the life insurance company's money, we're going to buy a call option. Well, what we talked about was the floor, because it's a 0% performance year. What we talked about was the floor. That floor is 0, meaning I can't. Because of the 0% floor inside of this product, I can't lose more than what I've put into that call option. So I can't, if the market was negative 24%, I won't get hit with that negative 24% because the floor is 0%. Well, if the market had performed positively, like if we would have done 2016 and the market had performed positively, maybe can you guys still hear me okay? Because there's something going on weird in my headphones.
Yeah.
You're
Yep.
still good? Okay. So had the market performed positively, and that call option would have done maybe plus 24%, how much of that plus 24% performance would I have received? Well, there's a cap on the amount of growth, and that cap is 10%. So there's a 0% floor, and the cap on the growth is 10%. Which means if the market did 24%, I am not getting 24% growth on the $5,000 that I used to buy that call option. I'm only getting 10%. And now that cap,
And that can't change. Okay. And
that cap
can't change
can
on
be
the-
adjusted.
Oh,
That
can be
cap
adjusted.
absolutely can go higher. That cap can also go lower. It absolutely can. The question is, has it? And if it has, when? And for how much? And one of the things that you will hear from me and maybe other people who provide a product like this, but you won't hear this from many people. We would actually prefer interest rates continuing to go up. Why is that? Well, as interest rates go up, that spread, because right now it's a 0% floor, 10% cap. If we're using leveraged money, it's costing us 4% to borrow that money. Well, if it's cost me 4% to borrow, there's a 0% floor, 10% cap, my spread is 6%. 10% minus 4% is 6. My spread is 6%. Well, there's a cap on the loan rate, and there's a cap or a ceiling as of right now on the call option. Well, as interest rates continue to increase, what happens is that cap rate on that call option goes up as well. So we would actually prefer a cap on the call option of maybe 14, 15%. Let's choose 14. If it's a cap of 14, that also means the loan rate went up as well, by the way. Well, there's a cap on the or ceiling on the loan rate. The ceiling on that loan rate is 6%. It's currently 4. So the cap is 6. So if we reach the cap of the loan, 6%, and the new cap of the call option is now 14, the spread now went from 6% to 6 minus 14, which is 8%. So the spread gets larger, which means we make even more money in a situation where inflation is high and interest rates are high. So it's actually better in a product like this. Where else are you going to hear that?
Okay.
Great question.
So then that's where put call ratio or Martel was coming from, and his concern about like all these uncontrollable variables where the cap rate, cost spreads, crediting methods. I don't know what he means by crediting methods. Is that
And that's just it. It's all about structure. And here's the thing. This is I would agree with put call from Sunday if this wasn't already tried and true. Meaning, if we were talking about some new strategy, I get the hesitancy. But I have the data because this has been around since 1997. I have the data on how the S&P 500 has performed in a premium finance strategy like this since 1997. What's happened since 1997? How about the dot-com bubble? That's 3 consecutive down markets.
Yeah.
How about COVID? How about 2008? So we have a lot of data that says the performance in a product like this with leverage, with secure leverage, and I think that's a part of the problem. That's something I have to fix. I say leverage, but really what we're talking about is secure leverage, because that leverage, there's no risk to that leverage now all of a sudden impacting you in some way, shape, or form.
Okay. Then his other question that I also wondered about is there more than one carrier that provides this MPI design? Why would only one or a handful of carriers have this if it wasn't lucrative?
I love that. I go back to max funded option B IUL with leverage. Max funded. We're buying the least. You are buying the least amount of life insurance legally possible. So you first have to step back and go, oh, I guess that means the life insurance companies are actually taking less money when they're getting a product like this. And on top of that, the guy providing the life insurance product, the guy providing MPI, again, max funded, least amount of life insurance, decreasing fee structure, the guy providing it is taking less in commission. So what life insurance, like again, life insurance is one of the most corrupt industries I've ever seen in my life. There's a lot of people making a lot of money in this industry. But what you're saying to the person that's providing life insurance, you're going to have to make less. And because because you're making less, that puts the person that you're providing this product for in position to make more. And so why wouldn't every life insurance company line up to be able to make less money? Right? Kind of speaks for itself. But the other part is this. When the guy that created this, developed it, he shopped this around to everybody. And there were a few life insurance, A+ rated life insurance companies that raised their hand and say, you know what? I see what the goal is here. The goal is not life insurance. The goal is not death benefit. The goal is income. And as a result, we're on board. And since then, those same life insurance companies that said, nah, it's not for me, are now beating down the door because all we're talking about is a leveraged IUL. And what that allows is here's the third time we use this word, discernment.
Hey.
There are certain people that we can work, or there's certain people that we should work with. There's certain people that we should not, because their goal maybe doesn't meet our goal, which as a retirement consultant, my goal is to help you produce income. Again, life insurance is a corrupt industry. How many life insurance companies are focused on you making money? When was the last time you saw a State Farm commercial that said, hey, come over here and let me show you how to make more retirement income? It just doesn't exist.
Okay. So to his point about not too many picking this up, not too many carriers picking this up, Meanwhile, there's like what 10 plus carriers for whole life, and the fees are supposed to be low for the infinite banking concept.
So let's talk about that. First off,
Okay.
we have to agree. I hope you agree with me on this. There is no such thing as an infinite banking life insurance policy.
Right, the design, IBC design.
There we go.
Using
So
whole-
infinite banking is a strategy applied to a whole life policy. Now, go find the whole life insurance companies that agree with infinite banking. Go find the whole life insurance companies that in their documentation they say should be used for infinite banking. What you'll find is life insurance companies do not want to be labeled as or seen as infinite banking life insurance companies. Why? When you dig into the structure of infinite banking, and it starts right here. When you're doing infinite banking, you have to leverage your cash value to go do something with it. There's a guaranteed growth inside of the whole life policy. That guaranteed growth on average is 4%. In a properly designed policy, the opportunity cost to leverage the money that you just made, 5%. In a poorly designed policy, the cost to leverage the money you just made at 4%, 7 to 10%. So you're making 4%, but it costs you 5%. You're making 4%, costs you 5%. You're losing money in the policy every time you use it. Now, if you're doing infinite banking, you're going to go use that money that it just cost you 5% to use to go make more than 5%. And then you're going to pay back everything that you used, the loan plus the interest, because you took it out of the policy. You're going to pay back the loan plus the interest and put your policy back to whole, back to even, so that you can borrow that money again. That's infinite banking. But you cannot find a life insurance company that's going to say that is how you should use this policy. Infinite banking is a concept. It's a strategy. And that strategy is applied to a whole life policy, and it's applied by those who sell life insurance. But the life insurance companies themselves do not buy infinite banking.
Okay, I think that's it for me. What I'm finding is that that MPI seems like a great place to do investments or autopilot investments. That's my impression. And then going the IBC route is good for if you have deals that you want to do outside of the policy.
So
Would that be
let me spin that a little bit, because I think it's absolutely the opposite. And I'm going to use your words. I get to do infinite banking to go do investing. That's what you just said, right?
outside of the, I guess, outside of the insurance or outside of the
Right.
policy, right?
So I'm going to leverage my cash value to go do investing. Whereas MPI, which is a premium finance strategy, is designed for income. It's the focus is on building income for you, and it's building it passively, meaning you sleep well at night knowing the money you've contributed into this product is safe, secure. There is a portion, the call option, that we are going to take and have impact by the market. But your I'll call it the majority of the money that you've put into this product is contractually guaranteed not to be lost. So therefore, from an investment equation perspective, we haven't eliminated, we have reduced the risk. Versus 401k, you make money with the market, you lose money with the market. You make money with the market, you lose money with the market. Hopefully that average is positive performance. Investment, infinite banking. I'm going to borrow money from my policy and I'm going to go over here and buy real estate. Hopefully 2008 won't happen. Or I'm going to take this money and I'll do day trading with it. Like there's many things that you can do. Hopefully you don't lose it, but there's risk to your own personal investment. Now, the growth inside of your whole life policy is guaranteed, no risk. But when you take that money out of the policy, you're left to your own devices. I'm not saying that you aren't great at what it is you do, but it's your responsibility to then eliminate that risk. Inside of a premium finance strategy like MPI, you have one job: contribute to your policy. Not one job. You have many jobs. You contribute to your policy, but you also have to be healthy. So that's the other part. But you contribute to your policy, you remain healthy. Everything inside of your policy works within. And so therefore you are passively growing income without any effort. So I don't consider that investing. I actually consider that saving, because it's working for you holistically inside this vehicle without any effort from you. There's no outside forces that may cause you to lose your money. And because of the leverage, again, pay yourself first, starting today, somewhere secure, compound your money, and then exponentially grow it. Because of the leverage, the using of other people's money to grow your money, it is now exponentially getting bigger. And all you did was put in your same premiums every year. My opinion.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So I'm done with that. And so you could get on with the fees if you want to talk about that.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'll talk to you
Have a
later.
good evening.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, Kelvin. Really appreciate that you would take the time to do that. It gives us just a different opportunity, because sometimes limiting the questions inside of the chat, sometimes it's like, well, I wish I could ask a follow-up question, or that's not necessarily how, like, his interpretation of my question isn't exactly what I was trying to ask. And it makes it much more difficult. But since you had so many questions, and I love your questions because you're doing the research and you really are educating yourself, not just on the surface level, but you're opening up hoods all over the place. Like, what is a whole life policy? What is an IUL? And let me look under the hood and learn all of this stuff. This can feel so overwhelming. And I think one of your comments that you had made today inside the group was like, I have a job and I have to learn all of this in order to feel like I can make an educated decision, because there are so many people who, the second that I mention anything other than what they sell, essentially, you're getting all this pushback and flooded with all of this information,
Hate.
which is information, but you don't know if it's misinformation or if they are actually warning you, like a valid warning. What's sad about it is that a lot of the forums and stuff that you've sent for us to dig through, I love seeing this because we get to see a different perspective. We're not out here mining or looking for the criticism, right? We aren't. But when we get to see it in a different way, like in the alleyways where they're lurking and where they're hiding, we get to hear what they're saying and see how they're positioning it. Some of the things that you've shared is like, wow, they're saying that. And I wish that they would just learn, because the truth is that they could offer this, but they would have to be forced to structure this in this particular way. That's why you have to be certified in order to do it, right? And a lot of them will not do that. They wouldn't do it even if they saw that there was value in this, because it would mean they would have to make less money. And if you've followed Brad Lee or any of those other guys who are talking about the life insurance agency and how it's booming right now, people aren't talking about how to help people make more money. They're talking about how much income that they're making, right? Yeah, and that's the sad part about it. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for the time that you're investing outside of your job, because it's not your job to be an expert at this, and no one should have to be an expert at this. But I think it's just proof that once you go out there and you do start to educate yourself, all of these other questions and the ability to use discernment requires even more education sometimes, right? Word of the day. I know it's like number 4 now, but I just appreciate that you are hanging in there. I think April is a perfect example of the majority of people who start to get in the weeds of this information and they're just like, I'm out. No, it's not a vibe. I'm not going to do it. And if you can't make it easy for me to understand, then I've got my own job to do. Like I've got my own field, right?
And my wife thinks I'm crazy, just like how I'm just so obsessed. I'm like eating, drinking, sleeping this stuff. And it's frustrating because I'm like, right when I think I'm getting to the end of it, it's like, oh, there's more, and I have to figure out,
Another
what is
layer.
all these, yeah, exactly, these double meanings and things, or like, oh, they're referring to something else, and it has the same word or same name, and
Yeah.
so that's
So,
yeah,
a couple things. What you're seeing, what you're experiencing today is very, very technical. If I think if this channel was laced with what I'm sharing with you today, there would be no channel. But I think this is the balance. There has to be some of this detail. There has to be every now and then we just got to jump into the weeds, and we'll get back to the story. We'll get back to that hey, how do we build a family bank? By incorporating some of these tools. And so it's understanding here's where I am in my current process, whether it's income, cash flow, whatever that looks like. And as we break down how to create more cash flow, we're looking for a place to put it, and now we've got this vehicle to put it in. And then what happens when we go through those, and I would have to believe those would be more inclined to what your wife would, I would think, want to kind of help her understand how this can work for her and her, or you guys in your current situation. She needs more examples like that. We have those. But what ends up happening is the people jump into the chat and go, but wait a minute. You just glossed over and assumed that money's going to make it that way. How did you get to that number?
Why aren't you telling people?
Right. Why aren't you being honest about
transparent?
how you got there
Yeah.
when there's a time for that? This is the time for that. But there's also a time to be able to bring everyone else in and help them. And that's the balance that, man, I'm telling you, I would not be here without this woman, because I think what she allows for this channel to do is there's balance here, and that balance is required so that everyone can understand what this is. So when you need the detail, you can watch this, you can go to sleep to it, you can rewind it all you want. But when you don't need the detail and you just want to understand how a product like this can work for me, like, is this an example that applies to my life and what it is I'm doing and my goals? We've got that too. And I think that's hopefully you're getting both ends of that.
I am. I'm enjoying the short and long version of all of this. But okay, thank you.
Kelvin, I thought Donnell was completely insane when he brought this into our home and into our lifestyle, really. I thought he had lost his mind. First, it started with the velocity banking, and I was like, what are you talking about? We're just going to start
Yes.
using more. Like, I
That's
thought,
the gateway drug, velocity banking.
Right.
And then wait, there's more.
and he was like, no, we could pay off debt fast.
Yeah.
And really,
Yeah.
it was, we were not in a position to buy a house. Like, we had made some mistakes.
504 credit score.
We were not in any position. And I was like, we got to buy a house. Like, we got to figure out how to do this, because we can't stay here. And he was like, all right, I'm on it. So he was like you, but with the velocity banking, and he kept trying to show me videos, and I was like, bro,
Come on, Denzel. Like, he's a young guy. He's easy to understand. You see the whiteboard. Like, look at the numbers. Come on.
No, I don't want to do it. And I was like, you just watch the videos, then fine. You do all the math. I know that you like math. I don't. Okay. And so just do it. Then I started seeing really fast, like within a year. I'm going to say it was a short period of time.
I'd run down the steps and go, I just got the limit increased on our credit card from blah to blah.
And I was like, why is that a good thing? I was like, why do we need more credit, more room on the credit cards? I was like, this does not, my programming was like, you don't just keep increasing your credit limits. Like, why would you need to utilize more credit? I did not get it at all. So I was like, you know what? I'm committed to you. So I believe in you. If you think this is a good thing, we're either going to rise together or we're going to burn together, but we're going to do it together.
Nice.
Remember 3 months ago, we were at 504. We're now at 610.
And I was like, wait, okay. Yay, right? I was like, that's good. And then after we were told by it was how we bought our home. That next move that we made was the leverage and what everybody said we could not do. And he made some stuff happen in record time. And even the lender and other people that we were working with were like, how are you doing this? How are you changing your profile so fast that by the time we started looking for a house and by the time we closed on our home, it was night and day. Like most people are trying to hold their position, right? They're not able to do this. And so we were able to qualify for like $100,000 more in just like a matter of weeks. He was able to do things that I was like, how did you just figure out how to do all of this? And then that was the gateway for us. That was the point where I was like, okay, I believe in you. Just go on. Go off, King. Okay. Because I'm so impressed. Then I was trying to tell other people, like, yeah, he does something called velocity banking. And they're like, what is it? And I'm like, don't know, don't care, don't want to watch the videos. Ask Donnell, he'll send you the link. You could watch it and maybe you could do it. And that was really what it is for me. Then at some point I had to learn. And that was the moment for me where I was like, this is a lot of math and it's not my jam. I don't like it. But like you, I like to learn things and I like to peel the layers back. So that was, I think, for me, where it was. And then it was like, oh, it was like finding keys that unlock new levels.
Yes.
That's the best way that I could describe it. And so that's where I got addicted to that process. And then it became for other people. Like, okay, my mom, how could give me your information and then let's see if we can create like a velocity banking plan for you. And then it was like, wow, holy cow, that was cool. Your sister, your friends, right? You start there. And then then it just snowballed from there. But I will say that anybody who's feeling like this is overwhelming, I think you get it, your wife gets it, we all get it. Anybody with a partner that's saying you're crazy, this sounds crazy, can't you just do things in like a simpler way that everybody else is doing it? That way I can just feel like I can trust what you're doing because this is our future, right? And I'm sorry, I'm not like Angelique. I'm not like, okay, we'll burn together. If we're gonna burn, we're just gonna go down together. It was
No, I agree. I mean, it's in the end, we're responsible for what happens in our lives, and it's like going to the doctor and just trusting that the quote unquote
That's it.
expert is going to take care of you. Oh, you're just another patient.
Trigger
You
alert.
don't really care what's going to happen, down the line. They're there for the visit, but then who's left to pick up the pieces? We are, and so that's why we need to know. We need to know how we have to be the expert, and it's sad to say, but there are very few people that you can really rely on that's going to be thorough. And so, but I mean, that was another thing. I was like, when I was talking to Donnell on the call, he was actually the first person I didn't get that shady vibe, where he's like looking to like make a buck. I was like, okay, I get to talk to him and I get to see his face and see, how he responds. And he's just giving us information so I really appreciated that. And so, but yeah. So anyway, I'm just glad to have found you guys, and I'm looking forward to really sharing whatever I learn and making it easier to digest, because I have a lot of other people in my group that I want them to understand and not think that, okay, this is some scam or this is some easy way. But
well, and the research that you have done to be able to arm other people and go, yep, no different than me. As you started to post things, some people in our position might feel like, well, why is he posting all this negative stuff, right? All this stuff that speaks against it. And why would he do that if we're trying to share the value of this with people? I appreciate it because it's what everybody's going to see when they start to Google. They're going to run into all of this. And so they have to also be able to understand, which is why like tonight is so important, right? Because you have to be able to understand what people are talking about. Otherwise, it sounds like fact because it sounds so technical what their claims are against it,
I'm
right?
the insurance guy. I'm the expert, right?
Right. And to your point, though, if this were a doctor making these claims about your illness or about your symptoms or about what they felt like the course of treatment, the best course of treatment would be. When he said trigger alert after you said that, it was because that's my story. It's every doctor, every situation that I've been in, I would be in a wheelchair right now because that's what they said that was my future. I would have been in a wheelchair by what, 2018, 17.
Easily.
They said I would be in a wheelchair the rest of my life. I would be on medication the rest of my life. I would be completely disabled. And I was in bed for like almost a solid 2 years. I was bedridden with my family having to take care of me. And the doctors were okay with that. I was not okay with that because I didn't feel like they were giving me the answers that were really speaking to, can we explore what these options are? Like, why did this happen to me? They were just fine to give me medicine. They were fine that I was having side effects to these medications and I needed more medications for those side effects, right? They were just happy passing them out like it was Halloween candy to me. I didn't want to take it. I didn't want to keep getting sicker. And unfortunately, that was them telling me that if I didn't want to, that there wasn't a way to get better, that I was not accepting their advice for me and their claim over my future. And I said, that is enough. I'm going to go start educating myself. And so I did. And I took control. I started first by changing my diet. I started first by saying, if this medicine is giving me these side effects and it's not actually making me better, then I have to stop taking it. And I have to find and listen to my body, right? And what my body needs. And I'm not in a wheelchair. Now, it's not against anybody who does have that as part of their future. That's not why I share this. I share this because this isn't just me. The similar story happened with our youngest. Same thing. And he was having 50 to 85 seizures a day, like 2.5 years old. And they said the same thing, like, this is just going to be his life. And I was like, what in the heck? Heck no.
Yeah.
So I believe in educating yourself. I believe in making decisions from an educated place because no one is going to care more about your future than you will. No one
There's
else
no
will
one coming to
decide.
save us. There's
Right.
no one coming to save us. It's all about control, becoming self-directed, understanding the role that you can play in this process, owning that place, and then taking control over it and not allowing some person who hasn't done the research to tell you otherwise.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and being
Right.
able to make a decision from an educated place is a powerful, powerful tool. And then to go and help others do the same thing because this is hard. We should have learned this stuff in school and we didn't. And now we're having to do this like some people went to school for this, right? And we went
Right. And even they don't know about some of these
Right.
things. It's crazy.
Right.
But then we spend our time in our careers learning about our industries and becoming authorities in our own field so we can support our families and make an income. Now we have to do on top of that, we have to learn this whole other thing so that we can feel confident because we can't feel like we can just trust it because it's going against our conventional conditioning, right? And programming of like what feels normal, what feels like we can trust it. But the coolest part about this, I feel like, is we see new solutions happen all the time. We see this in tech and we don't even question it. We're like, oh, that's cool. Smartphones makes sense. I want
AI.
that. I love that. Right. I'm going to have that. And every year I'm going to keep upgrading because I love this new tech and how it conveniences my life. But when it comes to vehicles for security, they haven't been upgraded, right? They haven't until now. And I think that's the part is we've needed 40 other upgrades before now. And this is like the slow track. We're still on the slow track. And I don't believe this is the last thing, but I do believe that this is going to replace the pension. And I do believe that it took somebody who was not in the industry, who did not benefit and who was not looking to benefit other than for themselves to go and peel it all back, take the whole thing apart, right? And put it all back together and say, why can't it work like this? And somebody else in the industry went, oh, dang, nobody's ever suggested that before. And then he had to go get it approved. And so I think that's where his attitude comes from, is that he's kind of like, I wasn't even in this industry and I'm talking to you who's been in this industry for a long time. And it's a damn shame you didn't come up with this. You know what I mean? Since you know everything, you should have came up with this then, and I could have had my cabinet business that I had before this. Like, now this is what I do because I want to be able to help people. And I think that attitude turns people off. So a lot of the stuff that you read in the forums and a lot of stuff pops up on Google is a response to his attitude, but rightfully so. I mean, you can't blame somebody for being like that. I sometimes feel a little bit like that when people come for me or come for us, and it's like, well, do you need to be an expert to be financially secure and have financial freedom for your family? You got to be a financial expert to do that. If that's the case, then nobody's going to be financially secure. So why are you selling it, right? Selling a dream. That's what you're doing. And we're just educating people on what it is that we're doing and bringing people along with us. And so we're glad to have you on board, Kelvin. And, being able to speak to you is absolutely an opportunity. So appreciate you being willing to participate and join us.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll be seeing more of you guys online.
All right, sir. Have a good evening.
All right, thanks, you too.
All
Bye.
right, bye. All right, there we are. Okay, so we just got a time call. Well, that was kind of a special thing, right?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
I owe this community the fees, though. So I think we run through the fees. If there's any questions after that, then we can get on up out of here. Sound good?
Yeah. And my bad. Thanks, guys, for hanging in here with us.
Yeah, and because we're pushing 3 hours, but I do want, because this is important. So let me just kind of set the stage real quick. So we've talked about a lot. And what I shared with you was, hey, here's how money grows inside of an IUL. Well, guess what? In premium finance strategy like MPI, it's just an IUL. So what I showed was, hey, when you add leverage from the same growth inside of the same IUL into years 2, 3, 4, and so on inside of an MPI plan, you actually are able to grow things faster. Well, one of the great questions that Kelvin asked was the fees, though. Are the fees before or after all of this growth? And what happens is you're putting in a certain dollar amount on an annual basis. Those fees are addressed when you put in that dollar amount. And so the growth, the performance inside of that policy is all after the fact. So if you slide over to the vibe board.
Yep. Here we go.
So I had shared this already, and I'll blow it up a little bit. What's happening is, in this example, 46-year-old putting in $110,000 at year one, and then $10,000 a year every year after that. And when you slide over here to the non-guaranteed section, again, I'm going to make this small. I know you can't read it, but I just want to make sure you see that I'm on the same line. When that $110,000 was put in, how much of that $110,000 is actually working for him? Again, $110,000 goes in. How much of that $110,000 is actually working for him? So you blow that up. Of that $110,000, only 107 is working for him. So I've put in 110. I've got 107 working for me inside the policy. And now, how much of that 110 that's working for me am I able to use as leverage to be able to do infinite banking if I wanted to? How much cash value do I have? Well, that's the number right next to it. So I put in 110, I've got 107 working for me. So that difference between this number and 110, those are the fees. And then my surrender value is even less than that. So I've put in 110, I've got 107 working for me. What's the difference between 110, 107, somewhere around $3,000? Let's go find that $3,000. So what are the fees? Well, everyone should have a page. Everyone should have a page inside their illustration that looks similar to this. I'll blow it up, but it's the fees section inside of your illustration. If you don't have a fees section inside of your illustration, ask the question why. Who benefits from you not being able to see how things are broken down? They gave you 20 pages of stuff, of definitions, but they couldn't give you the remaining 4 pages of fees? Like, why? Who benefits? So, as I mentioned, and again, I just want to show you that it's all on the same line. So 110 was put in. There are some buckets of fees that I'll get into, and I've got 107 working for me. So 110 went in, there are some fees, and then there's this accumulation value of 107. What are the fees? Well, the fees are broken out into 3 buckets. And just to be clear, these buckets I'm about to walk you through all cash value life insurance policies have the same fees. Meaning, all cash value life insurance policies have a premium charge. They all do. All cash value life insurance policies have an expense charge. They all do. All cash value life insurance policies have a cost of insurance. There's not a cash value policy that you can find that isn't charging you some cost of insurance. So let's talk about the buckets, the fees. Again, 110 went in. In year one, $37.65 was for the premium charge. If you remember, I've got 110 that I put in. I've got 107 working for me. There's $3,000 difference. How's that $3,000 difference if the premium charge itself is $37.65? Well, that's because that 110,000 that you put in minus the fees, there's a certain dollar amount that is still working for you. Meaning, when you subtract this fee, subtract $32.16 in expense charges, and subtract $16.97 in the cost of insurance. When you add all of that up, subtract it from 110, and then include the growth of the 110, you end up back at 107. So you don't break even, but you at least are making money inside of this policy along with whatever that fee cost would be. So again, premium charge, what does that even mean? Well, every time you put in a premium, $10,000 a year, every time you put in a premium, the life insurance company says, hey, there's a cost to that premium that you're putting in. We're going to take it right off the top. There's an expense charge. Notice the structure of this expense charge. $32.16 for the first 5 years, $691 for the second 5 years, and then $60 a year forever. The expense charge. What is the expense charge? Well, this is where the person that provides life insurance for you builds in their commission. This is where the person that did the health exam for you, their expenses in here. The guy that did the call option year after year after year, the cost of him is in here. When you went through underwriting to figure out whether or not you were going to qualify for life insurance, this expense charge is where all of those expenses are. How this column is structured is very, very important, because the people who are creating these policies have the ability to build this column however they want. So if they aren't showing this column to you, there's some things in that column that you might be upset about. But if it's a properly designed IUL with leverage, meaning if it's max funded, we're purchasing the least amount of life insurance legally possible. We have to design this so it's the least amount of fees. This $32.16 is based off that performance, meaning the cost of underwriting, the cost of me, the cost of all of the stuff associated with your policy goes right here. But as this policy starts to perform, it's almost like it's on autopilot, meaning there's not much work left to do. So because there's not much work left to do, we have the ability to decrease these fees. So at the end of the 5th year, it drops down to what is that, a fifth, a fourth maybe of this dollar amount? And then at the end of 10 years, this thing is on autopilot. It's running on its own. The leverage is being added. It is in such a, I'll call it, high level of secure, uninterrupted compound interest growing, that you don't need all of that support. So hold on. Let's look at this from the perspective of your 401k though, because this expense charge is similar to the expense charge in your other retirement vehicles. How is the expense charge structured inside of other traditional life insurance based products? Is it a decreasing fee? Let's say you wanted to retire here. Wouldn't you want this age to be the age when you were paying the least amount of fees? When was the last time we picketed Fidelity because it wasn't structured that way? Why don't we have this discussion about traditional retirement planning vehicles? Why do we only want to have it here? Who benefits from this not being structured the way it needs to be? So this expense charge being in a decreasing fashion, meaning it gets smaller. What that ultimately means is when you're making the most amount of money you need to be making in this policy, when it's time for you to retire and actually leverage this dollar amount to be able to be used for income, when the most important period inside of a retirement strategy is when it's time for you to start taking distributions, which is 10, 15, 20 years from now. Shouldn't your fees be the least amount at that point? Versus traditional retirement planning where the fees compound, meaning they get bigger, meaning they start out at 1% when you start it. If you've only put $10,000 in, 1% of $10,000, who cares? But when you've put in $500,000, 1% of $500,000, that's significant. So when you need your money the most is when the fees are the largest. Isn't that backwards? What would happen if we structured something the right way? I think you're looking at it. And then the last bucket, the cost of insurance. This is life insurance. In order for you to have life insurance, it's going to cost you something. That cost is based off your age, based off your income, based off your health. There's a cost to insure you. Meaning there's a death benefit that you receive. Matter of fact, I think I have the death benefit here. Yep. So the death benefit in this equation, because he's putting in $110,000 at year one, his death benefit starts out at 1.9 million. So because you have a death benefit of 1.9 million and you put in 110,000, there's a premium charge. That's the cost of every premium you put in. There's an expense charge. There's a cost of the structure of your policy. And then there's a cost to insure you. Notice this cost to insure you increases as you get older. And this is the one where people who, and this is weird to me, people who sell life insurance scream about IULs because the cost of insurance increases. As though the whole life policy you just bought, the cost of insurance didn't increase in that. It's the same cost of insurance. Now, you have the ability to have some influence on whether or not it's growing at a rate that causes your policy to implode. But the bottom line is it's the same bucket, and all life insurance is based off your health. So as you get older, it costs more to insure you. So which means the cost of insurance increases as you get older. You know how you beat the cost of insurance though? You beat the cost of insurance by having a policy that makes more money than it costs to insure you. So if we have a wealth building strategy where you pay yourself first, starting today, secure your money, compound your money, and then you use leverage, you secure leverage to grow your money. If that structure can outperform the pace of you getting older, meaning the cost of you getting older, wouldn't the difference, the arbitrage, the spread, cause you to make more money? So it's all about structure. If we screw this up and we make this expense charge compounding and the cost of insurance increases, so the fees inside the product increase, the cost of insurance increase, you can put yourself in a situation where you may start to cause your policy to implode. But that's not your fault. That's the structure. It's not the IUL's fault. It's the guy that designed it. So the IUL isn't the problem. It's the structure of the IUL that's the problem. Who structured it? And when you add leverage, when you add secure leverage into a vehicle like this, it's a game changer. Again, once you see this, you can't unsee it. So these are the fees associated with all life insurance based products: cost of insurance, expense charge, and the premium charge. There's a last charge that I want to highlight, but this fee does not impact the performance of your policy. This gets confused as well. There are 3 fees or 3 charges associated with the money that you're putting in on a regular basis. This is it: premium charge, expense charge, cost of insurance. But there is another fee, but that fee does not impact your policy. It's called a surrender charge. A surrender charge, this is the name that I gave it. You cannot find this name anywhere else. I'm calling this surrender charge a what if charge. If you do this, this is the charge. If you never do this, you will never see this charge. That if is cancel. Cancel means something. Notice, in this equation, I've put in 110,000. Well, I've decided MPI won't work for me. I've decided this premium finance strategy won't work for me. So even though you guys have done everything you needed to do to build a structure, I've taken the exam, the life insurance company has invested a lot of money into this process, it's not for me. And now I want my $110,000 back. Well, the life insurance company is going to say, wait a minute. We put a lot of work into building this structure. So if you want to cancel what you've contributed, it's going to cost you a large amount. And in this case, 56,000. You've put in 110. It costs 56,000 to cancel your policy. Almost half. Well, at year 2, you've put in 110 plus 10, 120,000 you've put in. If you wanted to cancel your policy then, so you put in 120, it would cost you 52. Every year, it gets easier to manage your policy. So every year, that surrender charge gets smaller. This is not the only product that has a surrender charge. They all do, to include annuities. But here's the part. What is this strategy? This strategy is an income generating strategy. It's a retirement. It's focused on producing retirement income. So it's about the long game. If you have no intentions in being this in the long game, don't do it. If you have no intentions of letting your money grow passively, if you have no intention on building wealth, don't do it. But I need to connect the dot for you. Don't confuse canceling your policy with not contributing to your policy. Those are two different things and have two different impacts. What do I mean? So let's say it's year 10. You've been doing this for 10 years. You've put in 110 in year 1 and 10,000 every year. So you've put in $200,000. Awesome. You're now at year 10 and you go, I'm not putting any more money in this product. This $200,000 that is grown inside of here, and I can move it over to the calculator and show you what this $200 would have done in that 10-year period. But I'm not doing it yet. I put in $200,000 into this policy over these 10 years. I am not putting in another dime. Notice, I didn't say I'm canceling my policy. What I said was I am no longer contributing my premiums to this policy. Is there a way that the structure of this policy will still be able to perform even though I stopped putting in contributions? Well, if it's structured properly, the answer is yes. If it's not structured properly, you might have a problem. But this is not that. So if I've put in 10 years, what has happened during that 10-year period? Well, in year 1, I put in 110,000, nothing. In year 2, I put in an extra 10, that's 120,000, nothing. At year 3, the relock feature kicked in. At year 3, everything from year 1 was pulled into year 3. At year 4, more leverage was put in. Everything from year 3 again was pulled into year 4. At year 5, something special happened. At year 5, I added 2 more years of leverage. At year 7, I added 3 more years of leverage. At year 9, I added 4 more years of leverage. At year 10, I added another 4 more years of leverage. Look at all of the leverage I've added on top of what I've contributed. So if I decided right now here in year 10 to not contribute another dollar, I've got 9 more years of leverage that still is being added to my account. And when those 9 more years of leverage get added, guess what? At that 20-year mark, there's still 10 more years of leverage that needs to be added from that, which means because of the design of this product, this product itself will feed itself, even though I am no longer contributing any more of my principal, any more of my premium. So did I cancel the policy? No. Did the policy continue to grow? Yes. Did it grow at the same rate that it would grow if I was still putting in $10,000 a year? No, but it is still growing. I didn't cancel my policy, so therefore this surrender charge has zero impact. How long does the surrender charge last? At year 15, the surrender charge goes to zero. So if after 15 years, you said you didn't want your money anymore and you wanted all your money back, there's also a guaranteed refund rider built inside of this as well. So at year 15, you could actually get every dollar you've put in, every dollar of principal that you've put in at year 15. In most cases, you could get all back. You know who would love the fact that you canceled your policy at year 15? The life insurance company.
Dang it. I didn't even get to.
And here's why. Let me come up here and show you why. If at year 15 you canceled your policy, what you're saying is, I want all of this back. That's $250,000. Well, this is a bare bones policy, no leverage, by the way. Bare bones, no leverage. At that same period in time, let me make sure I'm in the right place. Yep. At the same period of time, inside this policy, bare bones, you would have accumulated $366,000 in cash value. So you get to give back. You get to take back your $250,000, and you just left with the life insurance company an additional $116,000. You gave them, in over 15 years, you took all of your money back and you gave them $116, and you left the death benefit on the table, and you lost the $2.3 million. In a properly designed product, no one is going to cancel their policy. Why? Because you're leaving way too much money on the table. If your goal isn't to allow this to be a product that's going to grow for you over time and build wealth, don't do it. That's the fees.
Yep. Okay. That's the fees, folks. We need a fees song.
And I think, Frank, you said there were some questions related to the fees. Throw it up there. Hey, Lolo.
We always enjoy her questions.
Want me to read? Is there any scenario, regardless of likelihood of it happening, in which one could lose all of the money they have contributed into the policy? Okay. Is there any scenario where one could lose all of the money they've contributed? If you surrender your policy, meaning if you cancel your policy, would you lose everything? No, you would just have to pay the surrender charge. Is there a situation where you would lose everything?
All the money that they've
Everything.
contributed. Fraud. Probably something like that.
So what will happen is, and I have to, the only way I can do this is with the scenario. Let's say you're putting in $10,000 every year. So
Okay.
you put in your first $10,000 in year one, and you have now decided, I am not putting in any more money. Well, that $10,000, there was a certain amount of fees taken out in year one. So you have that balance of the $10,000 sitting in the general fund working for you. At year two, the policy is now looking for the next $10,000 on top of the dollar amount inside of this product. If it doesn't see it, it's going to say, okay, well, I'm going to take this dollar amount that we have inside this general fund, and whatever those fees are for this year, I'm going to take out of that dollar amount. Okay, it did that. And then in year three, it's looking for another 10. Doesn't see it. Well, I'm going to take the fees that I'm owed inside of this policy at year three, and I'm going to take that out. So at some point, that $10,000 is going to run out because the fees inside the policy has no premiums to be able to take the fees from, and there's no leverage or growth inside the policy to also pay for the fees that's being accumulated. So what's going to happen is the fees alone are going to pick away at that dollar amount because you're no longer contributing it. And at that point, there is no more money left in that policy, and it will just waste away. It is dead at that point. In my mind, that is about the best scenario that I could find as to where that might happen. And here's the thing. While that money is being eaten away, if something were to happen to you, I believe if something were to happen to you, there's a certain amount of death benefit that you do still have. Meaning, at some point, the policy is going to surrender. At some point, the policy is going to lapse. But the time between you stop contributing and your policy lapsing, that time, you paid a contract. You have a contract. You have life insurance. So that time between you stop contributing and the time that your policy officially lapsed, that period, you still have life insurance, which means if something happened to you during then, there's a death benefit payout.
Well, that's a great question too, by the way, because there's not all policies that,
Not all
yeah,
policies
that
are
that
structured the
information
same.
doesn't even apply to all policies. So it's a good question to ask, and you're right to ask it. Side note, one of our kids is studying to learn to be able to help people, and hopefully, our people who will book appointments soon will be able to talk to him.
Man,
And
I
that
thought you
makes
were about to say we got another caller. Justin's
no.
on the line.
Justin. It's that he said, he was like, I don't know, I just feel like, the more I learn, I can tell, like it's in me. I'm gonna just be yelling at people the way that my dad's yelling at people, and I'm like, he's not actually yelling at people. His volume and his passion, yeah, he's like, no, I can just tell, like it's like you're gonna be able to hear me from the kitchen when I'm talking to people, because I do feel why he's so passionate as I'm learning about this, and I just almost cried laughing, because it is you can hear him through the whole house. And so our youngest is always like the 401k, and he's like got this whole like spiel making fun of Donnell, but it's you get why he gets so passionate. And every time I see you now, that this is ringing in my head, that the passion is actually what's catching on through this process. It's a permission to be passionate about that, is what I heard today. And that's what I see in the chat. And I appreciate that, because those who are here spending time with us in their evening, right? We're
Right.
going, I mean, I'm going to stop talking now, but I just want to share and not make this longer, that I really appreciate your guys' time, because you can tell who is truly passionate about this information. And the more you learn, the more you know, and the more you can share. So,
Can I do this real quick?
yeah.
Because again, if what you've taken from what I've shared is the fees eat up the entire policy, I hope what you're referencing is the question was, is there a scenario where? And so the example that I gave was, if you put in your $10,000 one time, what's going to happen is the life insurance company is looking for that principal payment or that premium payment every year or every month or however you're doing it. And if it's not there, the premium charge, the expense charge, and the cost of insurance have to come from somewhere. Where does it come from? It's going to come from that dollar amount that's sitting there all by its lonesome. And when that dollar amount is eaten up, because there are fees associated with your account that come out annually. So when the fees eat up that lonely amount, there is nothing left. So in that specific scenario, that the question that was asked was, is there a scenario where you can lose all of the money in your account? In this specific scenario where you only put in one annual contribution and you never put in another dollar, yes, that would happen. But if you're doing the way this is designed, you're putting in your annual premium on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, semi-annually basis, annual basis. If you're doing your part, that's your only job in this process, aside from being healthy. You're doing your part, putting in your dollar amount. The structure of this policy, it is not possible for the fees to eat up what you have because of how this is structured. And it's all about structure.
And we should talk about that, actually, the protection that you have by having a policy like this versus a different type of retirement plan, because of the protection that you have against creditors as well, and being sued, right? Those types of there's other layers of protection there too. So it's not just fees that you should be worried about in regards to this as a strategy versus other things. So we should actually maybe talk about that too at some time. I want to bring up Josephine's question because I did ask her if she's still
Hey,
with us.
Josephine.
And so
Oh,
kindly
it's late for
explain-
her too. I'm sorry.
Kindly explain how Internal Revenue Code Section 1035 exchange works. What happened to the total premium paid?
So,
She asked this when you had mentioned it quickly.
Okay, no
And-
problem.
Yeah.
no problem. So, kindly explain how the Internal Revenue Code 1035 exchange works. What happened to the total premium? So, I have to preface because I think I know what you mean when you say what happened to the total premium paid. So, okay. 1035 exchange is very similar to a 1031 exchange if you understand real estate. What's happening is you have this asset sitting in this place doing this thing, and you want to move that asset from this place that it's sitting in to another place. Well, like real estate, if you don't structure things properly, you can get hit with fees and taxes that you weren't expecting. Well, all assets function in this space. So a life insurance policy, a properly designed cash value life insurance policy, is an asset. And that asset has these tax sheltered benefits. Well, if you don't treat that asset properly, you can lose those tax sheltered benefits. One of them being tax-free growth. One of them being able to leverage, there's all sorts of benefits. Well, when you realize you've got this asset over here with company X, and you thought it was designed properly, and you thought it was supposed to be building you cash value and doing the right things for you, only to learn this asset that's sitting over here is actually not structured right. Well, that means I want to move this asset from over here over to this new place. Well, in order to do that without being impacted by those tax implications or losing your tax sheltered benefits, we have to do what's called a 1035 exchange. That's a penalty-free, tax-free transfer of your cash value from where it is to the new place. And it's a long, drawn-out process that involves both agencies. The new agency has to reach out to the old agency and say, hey, your client isn't very happy. And so therefore, we're going to take all of that cash value that they have and move it into this new place that's better. And the old place doesn't like that. So they're going to drag their feet. They're going to take a long time answering phones and answering emails and filling out information. So you're going to have to stay on top of them. But no different than a transfer from a 401k into an annuity or a 1031 exchange of real estate. This is no different. These two agencies talk to each other, and these two agencies, at some point, the old agency is going to transfer that cash value that you are owed. It's your money. And whatever the life insurance, I'll call it the death benefit was, all of that transfers over to the new place. But the question you asked was, what happened to the total premium paid? What happened to the total premium paid at the old place? I can't answer for you. Let me give you an example. If we're let's say you're putting in $10,000 a year and you've been funding this policy for 10 years, you've put in $100,000. In a properly designed product like a premium finance strategy, that might have grown to double. So you might have $200,000 of cash value available. But in a poorly designed product, you put in $10,000 a year, that's $100,000 in 10 years. You may only have $30,000. What happened to the total premium paid? It was eaten up by that poor structure. It was eaten up by the premium charge, the expense charge, and the cost of insurance. It was a poorly designed policy that ate up your policy. And so therefore, what you should have in your policy and what you actually have in your policy may be a little bit different. But what you do have, we can move from where it is into this new place through a 1035 exchange. A lot of words, but I hope I got there.
Yep. Okay. Well, the good news is it's time to give away some boats.
Let's do it.
What? Okay. Can you hide that comment? I think I can do it. Okay. Here we go. All right. Here we go.
Oh, Josephine's in Vegas. That's right.
Don't
Oh, who was I thinking about?
win.
Oh,
Hey,
who was that?
we
Sick?
still don't.
Did you get a pronunciation yet?
SYKY. We didn't get it in the comments. Did you catch it, Frankie? Psych. Why? Psych.
That's
Why?
what I'm saying. Psych, why?
Psych.
When you get time, please text us your home address, your full name, and the handle, Psych, why, so that we can send your boat over to you. We would be happy to do so.
Yep. And please do that because we had winners from the last two streams that have not sent in their address, and they probably maybe weren't watching when we did the drawing. So, yeah, Rob, Pumphrey, not naming any names. Okay, here we go. Who is it? Hey, Kelvin.
Congratulations, sir. You deserve it. Congratulations.
Oh, sir. All right, should we do one more?
Let's do it.
We got just one. Okay. Frankie said literally one more. That's it. Then we're taking her to Cheesecake Factory. Cause she said it's appropriate. Oh, yeah, we could go there too. Hilda Chin. Whoop whoop.
Congratulations, Hilda.
Yeah, Hilda. Send us your address.
Again, Hilda and
Send you your
Kelvin.
vote.
Well, Kelvin, I think we have your information. But anyway, we don't have your home address and stuff. But Hilda, Kelvin, please share with us your full address, full name, and also add your handle in the text message as well. And we'll happily get a boat over to you. You mind throwing up the phone number, sweetheart?
Yes, I do mind. Just kidding. Here we go. That's
Yep.
it. That's the phone number.
That was weird.
That was weird. Okay. That's it. That's the phone number. And just text us your information and we will manually put it in for the USPS because they're kind of a pain. We love it though because we know you're going to get your boat. We're willing to do that for you if you're just willing to send us your address. So that's all we need. Yep. Take a screenshot because we're getting out of here. All right, let's you know what? Let's end on a word. We like to say that if you didn't come from a wealthy family,
You can make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
so stay focused,
Stay protected.
stay tuned.
Stay connected.
My name is Angelique,
And I'm Donnell.
and our goal is to and there's Frankie. We should
And
put you
Frankie.
in here. She's like, and I'm Frankie. And Frankie's here with us too. And our goal is to help you.
Get self-directed.
We are so grateful for the time that you guys spend with us tonight. When we have free resources, so if you're new here or you haven't taken advantage of them, now is your time. Get fully educated so that you can use your discernment. Hold on just a second, guys.
Well played.
Yeah.
Well played.
Yeah, you know. See you next time, guys. Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you get self-directed.
Self-directed.